Welcome to Tales in the Dark. I know many of you enjoy relaxing with these videos, so I recommend turning down the volume until my voice is barely audible. It'll make the experience even more soothing. Before you close your eyes, let me know in the comments where you're listening from. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you and enjoy listening. Story 1. The rain whispered softly against the window, painting the room with a lullaby of tranquility. A fragrance of damp wood and lingering tea enveloped the air, the steam rising lazily from the cup on the table. It was a night crafted for losing oneself in the pages of a book, surrendering to the embrace of slumber with effortless grace. But then, a trio of precise knocks shattered the serenity, echoing with a clarity that demanded attention. A pause hung in the air, pregnant with mystery. No visitor was expected, not at this late hour. The time-worn armchair sighed as I shifted, fingers tracing the pages of my well-loved paperback. The antique clock on the wall whispered of 11:47 p.m., its rhythmic ticking harmonizing with the gentle cadence of the rain outside. Dwelling on the top floor, my solitude was rarely interrupted, especially in the dark embrace of night. The notion of an unexpected guest at my door sent a shiver down my spine, raising goosebumps on my skin. Motionless, I strained to catch any lingering echo. The rain persisted in its melodic symphony, while the radiator hummed its familiar tune. Perhaps it was a figment of my imagination, a trick of the mind woven from the threads of ghostly tales I often indulged in late at night. Nestling back into the embrace of my armchair, I pulled the soft blanket closer, seeking solace in its warmth. And then the knocks came once more. 3 in perfect succession, each identical to the last, a hypnotic rhythm that stirred a sense of déjà vu within me. My heart quickened, not from fear, but from the stirring of a familiar yet elusive memory. Rising cautiously, my footsteps silent on the wooden floor, I approached the door. The soft glow of my reading lamp cast gentle shadows that danced along the walls, a silent waltz of light and dark. At the threshold, a peculiar realization dawned upon me. The usual draft that slithered beneath the door was absent, a stark deviation from the storm raging outside. Pressing my palm against the door's smooth surface, I was met with unexpected warmth, as though the wood had basked in the sun's caress all day, an impossibility on this rainy night. With closed eyes, I immersed myself in the sensations surrounding me. The patter of rain, the distant rumble of thunder, the subtle vibration beneath my hand. Another set of 3 knocks resounded, softer now, hesitant, akin to a gentle nudge rather than a forceful intrusion. The warmth radiating from the door pulsed with each tap, a soothing sensation that ebbed and flowed through me like a whispered secret. Memories of my grandmother's tales flickered in my mind, of nights when the boundaries between worlds blurred. She spoke of gentle visitors bearing forgotten wisdom, of doors leading to realms beyond comprehension. Standing there, hand pressed against the door's warmth, I pondered if this was the essence of her cryptic lore. The knocking ceased, yet the warmth lingered, a comforting pulse akin to a heartbeat. The rain's rhythm morphed, aligning with the pattern of the earlier taps, as time unfurled like a delicate tapestry, stretching and folding in a dance of fluidity. A newfound golden radiance bathed my apartment, casting an ethereal glow upon every corner, infusing my surroundings with a surreal shimmer. Books, furniture, even the tendrils of steam from my neglected tea appeared veiled in this otherworldly luminescence. That night, the door remained unopened. I stood vigil until the warmth waned, the rain returning to its erratic symphony. Returning to my armchair, I discovered my tea still warm, as if time had halted in its tracks. The clock's hands pointed to 11:47 p.m., unchanged since the enigmatic knocking began. In quiet, rainy nights since, I've felt that same gentle warmth emanating from the door, a reminder of mysteries that defy explanation, inviting contemplation rather than resolution. The knocking never recurred, yet a shift had transpired within me, an awakening to the enigmatic currents that flow beneath the surface of reality. Some enigmas are not meant to be deciphered, but embraced as ethereal whispers that dissolve before comprehension dawns. My grandmother's wisdom echoes in these moments, urging reverence for the delicate equilibrium between the known and the intangible. The true enigma lies not in the identity of the visitor at my door, but in how it unlocked a hidden chamber within me, dormant until that fateful night. Drifting into slumber, a profound peace cradled me, a gift of acceptance for the gentle mysteries that lull us into dreams with their elusive truths. The rain persists, the clock persists, and on nights veiled in rain's embrace, I welcome the familiar warmth against my palm, a silent companion in the symphony of night. And I find solace in the understanding that some questions are best left unanswered, their enigmatic whispers guiding us into the realm of sleeping mysteries. Story 2. In the quiet sanctuary of my bedroom, the mattress cradled me in its soft embrace, while the duvet draped over me like a comforting shroud. A gentle light seeped through the curtains, and the steady ticking of the clock filled the room with a reassuring cadence. The scent of freshly laundered sheets enveloped me, coaxing my weary body to surrender to sleep's sweet embrace. But then a subtle disturbance brushed against the stillness. A faint rustle, barely audible yet undeniably close, emanated from beneath the bed. Instinctively, I remained motionless, my breath measured and steady. Years of solitary living had honed my senses to question every unfamiliar sound, yet this disturbance felt distinct. It carried a weight, a presence that hung in the air, thick and palpable. Despite the intrusion, the bedroom retained its familiar warmth and safety. Shadows danced serenely on the walls, painted by the gentle glow of a distant street lamp. My cherished collection of weathered hardcover books stood sentinel on the shelves, their spines creating a mosaic of subdued hues in the dim light. The vintage alarm clock continued its rhythmic ticking, a sound that typically lulled me into slumber, but now served as a reminder of each passing moment. A new sound stirred, nearly imperceptible, a soft inhalation not my own, followed by an exhale carrying a hint of mint and earthiness, reminiscent of damp soil after a summer rain. My fingers curled against the sheets, not in fear, but in contemplation. While logic suggested rational explanations, perhaps the heating system or a small creature finding shelter within, the depths of my intuition whispered otherwise. Slowly, my hand trailed to the edge of the mattress, not to investigate visually, but to seek understanding through touch. The space below held a coolness expected of shadows, yet it possessed an unusual density, akin to plunging fingers into a body of water. The sensation evoked memories of childhood swims, of gazing through liquid clarity at shapes simultaneously solid and fluid. Time unfurled with a peculiar elasticity. The clock maintained its unwavering tempo, yet minutes expanded and contracted like shadows at twilight. I teetered between alertness and a trance-like state, attuned to every subtle noise and shift in the air. The enigmatic presence beneath lingered, neither menacing nor benevolent, merely coexisting alongside my consciousness. Throughout the night, subtle nuances unveiled themselves, details that might have eluded a more anxious mind. Whispers of floral fragrance wafted on the breeze around my outstretched hand, redolent of night-blooming jasmine. Occasionally, a soft sound resembling distant drumming on wood resonated with an eerie echo, as if emanating from a distant well. As the dawn approached, the quality of darkness metamorphosed. The street lamp's glow waned, yielding to the soft gray light of early morning, and with it, a shift in the subterranean atmosphere. The elusive presence seemed to withdraw, like the ebb of a tide, leaving behind a residue, a sense of shared nocturnal vigil with an otherworldly sentience, operating by its own cryptic laws. Summoning courage, I peered beneath the bed as daylight filtered into the room, illuminating nothing but dust and shadow. Yet the space appeared expanded, its depths unfathomable, and the floorboards exuded a residual warmth contradicting the morning chill. Upon the farthest plank, barely discernible in the dimness, lay a single pristine handprint, smaller than my own, etched not in dust but in what appeared to be morning dew. I left it untouched, acknowledging that certain enigmas deserve to linger unexplained, nestled in the tranquil realm between reality and reverie. Each night, as I drift into slumber, the once disquieting sounds below have transformed into a gentle companionship. The soft rustle, the hushed breath, the occasional whisper of movement, they now accompany me on the threshold between wakefulness and dreams. I've come to comprehend that not all mysteries warrant fear. Some exist solely to remind us of the boundless, wondrous strangeness of our world. Without fail, the handprint reemerges each morning, unfailingly fresh with dew, in its customary place. I have relinquished the pursuit of rationale, much as I have surrendered to the mystery of my newfound peaceful slumber. Some riddles are best left unsolved, floating in that delicate space between consciousness and the ethereal, where the line between knowledge and intuition blurs into a tapestry of exquisite uncertainty. Story 3. In a quaint, snug apartment, the walls wear a comforting cream hue, and the old hardwood floors croon softly beneath my bare feet. As I prepared to bid the day good night, a peculiar sight caught my eye. The wardrobe door, usually closed tight, now stood slightly ajar. An oddity, for I distinctly remembered securing it before retiring to bed. That moment marked the beginning of a curious nightly routine that unfolded over the past 3 weeks. Each evening, without fail, I made sure to firmly shut the wardrobe door, at times even verifying the latch twice. Yet as night embraced the world, and sleep cradled me in its arms, I would awaken to find the door ajar once more, ajar just a sliver. Initially, I dismissed these occurrences as figments of my imagination, or perhaps the playful antics of a draft carried by the old heating system. The gentle sigh of air circulating through the vents could easily nudge a door left improperly shut. However, subtle shifts began to reveal themselves, casting doubt upon my initial explanations. During the hushed hours between midnight and dawn, I would catch faint sounds emanating from within the wardrobe. These were not menacing noises, but rather akin to the soft rustle of fabric or the murmur of autumn leaves caressing a window pane. A melodic whisper, a lullaby woven from sighs and silk, graced my ears. My garments remained undisturbed, hanging in pristine order as I had left them. Yet on occasion, when I unveiled the wardrobe in the morning, a new fragrance would greet me. It bore the essence of rain-drenched gardens and distant recollections of my grandmother's home, a blend of lavender and an elusive aroma from yesteryears. Thus I found myself sitting up at night, observing the door bathed in the ethereal glow of moonlight filtering through my curtains. Shadows danced, playing tricks on my vision, rendering the darkness within the wardrobe deeper and more expansive than physical confines should allow. At times, I fancied detecting movement within that darkness, akin to ripples traversing a midnight pool. On a particularly serene night, a new revelation unfolded before me. A faint, scarcely perceptible radiance seeping from beneath the door. Unlike the harsh blue of electronic devices or the amber glow of street lamps, this light resembled starlight, ancient, silver, and oddly comforting. It pulsed tenderly, synchronized with the cadence of my breathing, akin to a heartbeat echoing in the night. I began leaving small trinkets near the wardrobe, a blossom from my morning stroll, a feather discovered on my windowsill, a polished stone that captured my gaze. Each dawn, these items would be rearranged with such precision and care that happenstance seemed an implausible explanation. Once I placed a blank sheet of paper, only to find it adorned with frost-like patterns at daybreak, intricate motifs that vanished with the rising sun. Strangely, fear eluded me. Though perhaps I should have been apprehensive, there existed a solace in these nocturnal enigmas. It felt as though the wardrobe harbored a gentle secret. an ancient wisdom choosing to coexist within my abode. The melodies and scents that emerged evolved into a familiar lullaby, ushering me into a profound, tranquil slumber unlike any before. Subtle shifts began to permeate other facets of my existence. My dreams burgeoned with vivid imagery, sprawling libraries with infinite shelves, gardens blossoming beneath starlight, and portals unveiling impossible realms. Upon waking, I carried fragments of these dreams, akin to cherished gems nestled in my pocket. At times I pondered if the wardrobe transcended mere portalhood, morphing into a guardian of sorts, vigilantly overseeing my nights. Instead of evoking trepidation, this notion instilled a sense of comfort. Is there not a certain enchantment in acknowledging the presence of mysteries within our most intimate spheres, even amidst a world rife with certainties? I divulged not this clandestine rendezvous to visitors, for scarce are the souls that grace my dwelling nowadays. It felt as though this understanding was an intimate pact between myself and the benevolent entity that shared my nights. In the company of others, the wardrobe remained steadfastly sealed, safeguarding its secrets akin to a cherished confidence. Last eve, I penned a modest note of gratitude before retiring to slumber. At dawn's gentle embrace, I discovered it replaced by a peculiar flower, its petals akin to moonlight, exuding a fragrance that evoked childhood reveries. I preserved it within the pages of my journal, a keepsake symbolizing this enigmatic, exquisite mystery interwoven into my existence. Each night I dutifully close the wardrobe door, cognizant that it shall yield to dawn's light once more. Yet now, a smile graces my lips as I perform this ritual, akin to whispering a secret to an old companion. Some may deem this phenomenon haunting, but I prefer to view it as a selection, handpicked to partake in an inexplicable, wondrous experience, a reminder that reality conceals more magic than our minds can fathom. Thus I persist in my nocturnal vigil, aware that as slumber beckons, the door shall yield, welcoming whatever gentle magic desires to visit. In a world clamoring with noise and certainty, solace resides in a mystery that murmurs instead of clamors, that kindles wonder instead of dread. Story 4. The ancient farmhouse exuded a unique fragrance, a blend of aged dust and weathered wood that lingered in the air like a whispered secret. In the soft light of the afternoon sun, shadows stretched languidly across the worn stone floors, playing tricks on the eyes of anyone who dared to explore its depths. As I went about the task of rearranging furniture, a glint of curiosity sparked within me when my gaze fell upon an anomaly in the wall. A subtle draft of air teased my senses, and my fingertips discovered a delicate crack, akin to the outline of a concealed passage. Tracing the wall's surface, I discerned a barely perceptible seam in the faded wallpaper, hinting at hidden mysteries waiting to be unveiled. Whispers had always emanated from the old house in subtle ways. The gentle creak of aging floorboards, the soft rhythm of branches tapping against window panes, but this newfound discovery felt like a beckoning call. With the evening sun casting a warm amber hue throughout the dwelling, I found myself inexplicably drawn back to that enigmatic wall. The shifting light unveiled a peculiar pattern in the wallpaper, a mismatched design forming a perfect rectangular shape standing about 7 feet tall. My heart drummed steadily as I pressed against different points, recalling tales of concealed mechanisms and clandestine passages. A soft, almost imperceptible click broke the silence, followed by the sensation of the wall yielding beneath my touch. A rush of cool air brushed against my skin as the hidden door yielded, swinging open noiselessly on well-oiled hinges, as though anticipating this moment for centuries. Retrieving my trusty flashlight, its warm glow pierced the darkness shrouding the revealed corridor, its narrow confines cloaked in darkness that seemed to absorb the very light itself. A strange sweetness permeated the air, reminiscent of dried flowers and musty parchment, as I ventured cautiously into the unknown. Each step echoed softly on the solid, aged wooden floor, guiding me deeper into the corridor that stretched ahead for what seemed an eternity, before finally opening into a room that stole my breath away. Despite its modest size, the chamber exuded a vastness in its profound stillness. Dust motes danced in the beam of my flashlight, illuminating walls adorned with built-in shelves. Yet it was the sight of unopened letters, meticulously arranged on a weathered writing desk at the room's center, that captivated my imagination. The envelopes, aged and yellowed, bore names unfamiliar to me, written in elegant script that hinted at a bygone era. Beside the letters lay an antiquated fountain pen, its silver nib tarnished yet retaining a haunting beauty, and an inkwell long dried of its once flowing contents. The scene before me felt suspended in time, as though its occupant had merely stepped away momentarily, intending to return to their unfinished task. In one corner stood an ancient armchair, its faded fabric still hinting at its former opulence, positioned beside a small table supporting a brass reading lamp. A fine layer of dust cloaked every surface, lending an ethereal quality to the room, softening edges and veiling colors in a ghostly haze. Seated in the armchair, I felt a sense of tranquility envelop me, as if the room itself exhaled a sigh of relief at my presence. The air, though motionless, bore no staleness, but rather a vibrant energy that seemed to pulse through the very walls. Details gradually revealed themselves to me, faded photographs in tarnished frames adorning the walls, a pair of reading glasses neatly folded on a shelf, a half-empty cup of tea long evaporated, leaving behind a delicate ring on the porcelain. Time flowed differently within this chamber, the usual sounds of the house muted into a distant symphony, while a profound silence whispered of untold secrets lingering just beyond reach. I found myself pondering the enigmatic figure who had crafted this secluded refuge, who had penned letters never destined for the outside world. As night descended upon the farmhouse, a nagging urge to depart tugged at my senses, yet an invisible force anchored me in place. The room held a narrative within its walls, one that refused to divulge its entirety in a single breath. In the flickering light of my flashlight, a small leather-bound book caught my eye, nestled inconspicuously between larger tomes on a shelf. Try as I might, I could not recall having noticed it before, its presence a subtle enigma in the room's tapestry. Since that fateful encounter, I have revisited the mysterious room time and again, often losing hours in the embrace of the old armchair. The letters remain unopened, a silent testament to the privacy I dare not infringe upon. Occasionally, in the perfect play of light, I glimpse shifting shadows through the delicate envelopes, words dancing just beyond my grasp. The chamber has become my sanctuary, a haven where time flows like honey and riddles do not clamor for resolution. Yet a subtle unease lingers, a sense that each return brings subtle changes. A misplaced book, a rearranged pair of spectacles, a shift in the dust's delicate pattern on the writing desk. Reason assures me that these alterations are mere figments of an overactive imagination, the whims of memory playing tricks in the twilight hours. Yet, in moments of quiet contemplation within the aged armchair, a faint scratching sound often reaches my ears, a ghostly echo that might be the house settling, or perhaps something far more enigmatic. Story 5. The gentle crackling of the fireplace whispered promises of warmth throughout the room, wrapping me in a cozy embrace. My hand moved rhythmically through my dog's soft fur, his presence a soothing weight beside me. With his eyes half-lidded in contentment, he exuded a sense of peace that mirrored the tranquil evening. But then in an instant his demeanor shifted. His body tensed, ears perking up, breaths becoming heavy. A sudden alertness overtook him, and he leaped to his feet, a deep, uncertain bark escaping his throat as his gaze fixated on a shadowed corner of the room. Initially, I brushed off his behavior as Max being Max, a dog attuned to the subtlest of sounds, always on guard against the whispers of the night. His sensitivity was no secret to me. A rustling leaf, a scurrying mouse, they all set him off. Yet this time, there was an unmistakable difference. His bark held a note of questioning, a hint of doubt rather than aggression or excitement. As the flames painted flickering shadows on the walls, my attention was drawn to that dim corner where the antique bookshelf stood, a silent sentinel of forgotten tales. Its weathered frame held a collection of dusty volumes, standing in orderly rows, untouched by time. Despite the appearance of normalcy, an unexplained chill crept into the room from that very corner, a pocket of wintry air defying the fireplace's warmth. Nestling deeper into my blanket, I observed as Max cautiously approached the mysterious spot, his tail hanging low but not tucked in fear. This nightly ritual between us had begun. As dusk settled and I settled into my favorite armchair, Max's focus would inevitably shift to the enigmatic corner. Sometimes he would observe silently, body tense with anticipation. Other times he would emit soft, inquisitive barks, as if attempting to communicate with an unseen presence that eluded my senses. Subtle changes started to weave through the fabric of my reality. Books on the shelves shifted overnight, despite my solitary existence. Temperatures fluctuated without reason, and strange scents wafted through the air. The scent of aged parchment mingled with the freshness of morning dew. My logical mind sought logical explanations. Creaking floorboards, drafts from hidden crevices, a mere trick of the mind in the quiet of the night. One fateful evening, while lost in the pages of a book, Max's warning bark pierced the silence. Startled, my gaze followed his line of sight, and what I beheld was beyond the realm of explanation. Dust motes, caught in the lamplight's glow, moved against the laws of nature, swirling in intricate patterns that seemed to form cryptic symbols before dispersing into the darkness. Max's soft whine nudged against my leg, a silent plea for understanding. His demeanor was not one of fear but of vigilance, as if he stood guard over me while reaching out to a realm unseen. His presence grounded me, his warmth a lifeline to reality amidst the shifting shadows and whispered mysteries. A decision was made to document these occurrences, to chart the uncharted waters of our nightly encounters. Times were noted, temperature fluctuations recorded, Max's reactions carefully logged. Slowly, like a latent image developing in a dark room, patterns began to emerge. The phenomena seemed to peak during the waning moon, or when raindrops tapped gently against the window panes. The books that moved were always the same, ancient tomes of poetry and folklore that had long resided within the house's walls. And in the liminal space between wakefulness and slumber, I felt as though I caught glimpses of the unseen world Max inhabited. The corner of the room seemed to stretch into infinity, its shadows fluid and alive, pulsing with a hidden energy. Yet, every time I tried to focus directly on these spectral manifestations, they slipped through my grasp like elusive dreams. There was no sense of threat emanating from this shared space. Instead, a gentle curiosity enveloped us, as if we were all participants in a delicate dance of discovery. The enigma became a familiar presence, like an old, well-worn sweater that offered solace on chilly nights. Now, as the pen dances across the paper in the warm glow of the fire, Max rests at my feet, his occasional twitch a reminder of our nightly sojourns into the unknown. The bookshelf stands sentinel, its secrets held within the shifting shadows that play upon its time-worn surface. While the mysteries may remain unsolved, I've come to embrace the peculiar kinship we share with the unseen. Some enigmas are not meant to be unraveled, but rather embraced, like the soft hues of twilight or the gentle caress of a breeze through ancient trees. The fire crackles on, its warmth a constant companion in the ever-darkening room. Max drifts into a tranquil sleep, his presence a comfort in the gathering night. And in that shadowed corner, where secrets linger like echoes of time, the darkness deepens, enfolding us in its ancient whispers. Perhaps understanding does not always come from seeing, but from trusting the intangible stirrings of the heart in those quiet moments between breaths. Story 6. The atmosphere hung heavy with the aroma of moist earth and dew-kissed leaves. Above me, the branches swayed in a gentle dance, allowing the golden hues of the setting sun to trickle through. I strolled along a narrow trail, tracing the distant melody of a bird's song. Then, without warning, the song faded into silence. It was then that I realized the path had vanished before my very eyes. Standing rooted to the spot, I inhaled the ancient essence of the forest. The moss beneath my steps felt like velvet, each footfall sinking slightly into its plush embrace. The evening light bathed everything in a warm amber glow, yet a subtle shift had taken place. The shadows elongated, their fingers stretching out across the forest floor in a delicate caress. As I continued onward, my footsteps were silent, though I couldn't explain why I persisted in my journey. The forest metamorphosed around me, unveiling an ethereal quality I had never encountered before. The trees towered higher, their bark shimmering with elusive patterns that seemed to shift when I averted my gaze. Small white blossoms adorned the ground, their petals softly aglow in the dimming light. The temperature gradually dropped, ushering in a fine mist that draped around the tree trunks like silk scarves. The sound of water murmured in the distance, seemingly emanating from all directions at once. A sweet, unfamiliar fragrance wafted through the air, reminiscent of honey and aged books. As I traversed, I began to notice small stones arranged in intricate designs. They formed perfect circles and spirals, each stone meticulously placed. Some bore delicate etchings on their surface, while others pulsed with a faint inner light. Though tempted to pick one up, an unseen force urged me to leave them undisturbed. The forest thickened, yet a luminosity permeated the surroundings. The mist now possessed a radiant quality, casting a soft, pearl-like luminescence. I passed through clearings where the grass whispered enigmatic secrets beyond my comprehension, and where mushrooms formed rings mirroring the celestial patterns above. Although the thick canopy obscured the sky, I somehow sensed the constellations mirrored the earthly formations. Time flowed fluidly, akin to honey trickling from a spoon. I lost track of the duration of my journey. Minutes and hours held equal weight. My watch had halted, its hands appearing to move backward when I glanced away. The crystal face had fogged over, creating intricate frost-like patterns that continually shifted. A small stream crossed my path, its water clear as glass, yet failing to reflect my visage when I peered in. Beneath the surface, small lights danced, resembling stars ensnared in flowing crystal. The sound it emitted was both familiar and foreign, like music played in reverse, yet retaining a haunting beauty. Occasionally, fleeting movements caught my peripheral vision. Not menacing, just gentle ripples in the air, as if the very space exhaled. At times, indistinct figures seemed to walk parallel to my route, always just beyond clear sight. They moved with purpose, engrossed in their own affairs, akin to travelers in a bustling train station. The moss underfoot began to form patterns, spirals and waves emanating from each step, softly glowing before vanishing. It felt as though the forest recorded my passage, only to swiftly erase it. The air thickened with minuscule points of light, akin to dust motes caught in sunbeams, though these moved with intent, coalescing into shapes I almost recognized. I found myself in a vast clearing, where mist swirled in precise geometric formations. At the center loomed an ancient tree, its trunk contorted into impossible configurations. Its branches reached skyward before curving back to the earth, crafting a natural sanctuary. The leaves shifted hues with each breath I drew, transitioning through shades beyond nomenclature. Approaching the tree, I beheld writing adorning its bark. Unfamiliar to any tongue I knew, yet I could sense the meaning of the words brushing against my consciousness like butterfly wings. They narrated tales of wanderers, epochs, and realms existing in the interstices of heartbeats. Night descended, yet darkness failed to encroach. Instead, a soft, silvery twilight enveloped the forest, seeming to emanate from all directions simultaneously. The air thrummed with a gentle vibration synchronizing with my pulse, or perhaps my heartbeat synchronized with it. Fear had dissipated. How could there be fear in a place so intimately known despite its peculiarity? I find myself here now, penning these words in a journal discovered in my pocket, though I have no recollection of bringing one. The ink ascends from the page to form letters rather than descending from my pen. I am not lost, not truly. I am precisely where I am, even if that location eludes me. The forest comprehends, and in some inexplicable way, that realization proves sufficient. The avian melody I once pursued remains absent, yet in its stead I am serenaded by new harmonies, tunes redolent of moonlight and melodies akin to autumn leaves brushing against my skin. Perhaps I shall pursue these melodies next. Or perhaps I shall linger here, where the inconceivable feels intrinsic and time flows akin to water slipping through cupped hands. For in truth, being lost only holds significance if one seeks to be found. Story 7. The night enveloped the room in a thick shroud of darkness, with only a faint glow from the street lamp outside casting feeble light through the window. Shifting in bed, I sought a more comfortable position, but then a sudden stillness gripped me. A subtle weight pressed against the foot of the mattress, as though a silent observer sat there, unmoving, watching me intently. With bated breath, I lay motionless, trying to comprehend the mysterious presence. The weight remained constant, a gentle indentation in the mattress, patient and unwavering, as if waiting for the opportune moment. The old house murmured around me, settling its time-worn bones in the hushed night air. Familiar creaks took on a deeper significance, resonating with unseen meanings. Straining my senses, I struggled to adjust to the dimness. A chill lingered in the air, uncharacteristic for the season. The cotton sheets draped over me seemed to hold me in place with unexpected weight. Outside, the rustling of leaves in the nocturnal breeze, usually a lullaby, now carried cryptic whispers that eluded comprehension. Time drifted ambiguously, minutes blending with hours as I lay transfixed, attuned to every subtle shift in the atmosphere. Shadows danced and swayed with the rustling branches outside, breathing in synchrony with the night. My heartbeat thrummed steadily, not in fear, but in a primal harmony with the enigmatic presence surrounding me. Gradually, my eyes adjusted to the obscurity, revealing shapes emerging from the gloom, the contours of furniture, the drape of curtains, and a deeper shadow at the foot of my bed. Motionless, it lingered, neither menacing nor benign, simply existing in a quiet communion with the night. A sense of calm washed over me, tinged with a curious intrigue. The initial shock gave way to an unnamed emotion, hovering between familiarity and mystery. Memories surfaced of old tales spun by my grandmother, of nocturnal visitors who bore witness without malice. The ticking of the bedside clock marked the passage of time, each second a gentle reminder of continuity in this suspended moment. A passing car briefly illuminated the room, revealing only mundane shadows, yet the weight persisted, steadfast and undeniable. Subtle transformations unfolded in the room. A metallic tang in the air, shadows deepening with an eerie extension into unseen spaces, and a profound silence that seemed to listen to the night itself. Reflecting on countless nights spent in this space, I pondered whether this presence had lingered unnoticed, observing my moments of sorrow, joy, and contemplation in the solitude of darkness. Rather than unsettling, the notion of companionship blossomed within me, a connection to the unseen witness of my nights. As the first light of dawn softened the darkness, a subtle shift occurred. The weight at the foot of the bed ebbed like dissipating mist, gradually fading away. I remained still, avoiding direct gaze at the spot it had occupied. Some things, I realized, were meant to be felt and remembered, not scrutinized. Rising from bed, I found the room empty, bathed in the gentle glow of morning. The mattress bore no trace of the weight, yet an intangible transformation lingered in the air, expanding the room with newfound possibilities. Each night thereafter, an awareness of the space around me deepened. I discerned the nuances of darkness, the texture of silence, and the weight of shadows. In the depths of night, that gentle presence at the foot of the bed occasionally returned. No longer gripped by fear, I welcomed its silent company, listening to the night's secrets and pondering the stories it had come to witness once more. Story 8. The weary day had dragged on, leaving me drained and seeking solace in the familiar quiet of my home. The soft hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen was a gentle lullaby, the only melody in the stillness that enveloped the house. Nestling into the plush embrace of the couch, I absent-mindedly glanced at my phone, seeking a distraction. Its sudden vibration broke the tranquility, sending ripples of curiosity through me. The caller ID displayed my own name, a surreal sight that sparked intrigue rather than fear. It was akin to discovering an enigmatic shadow in a room I thought I knew so well. As the evening light filtered through the curtains, painting delicate patterns on the wooden floor, I observed the phone dancing with vibrations on the coffee table, casting a mesmerizing display. The atmosphere shifted imperceptibly, thickening around me, as if time itself had paused to take a breath. Above me, the ceiling fan whirred softly, its rhythmic cadence harmonizing with the gentle slowing of my heartbeat. I listened intently, the air pregnant with a strange weight, as my own contact information illuminated the screen, my own image staring back at me. When I mustered the courage to answer, a soft, ethereal static greeted me, reminiscent of the hushed whispers of the ocean under a moonlit sky. The silence held a richness, a depth of texture that filled the space between heartbeats. Bringing the phone closer to my ear, the cool touch of the screen against my skin anchored me in the moment. "Hello," I breathed, my voice barely a whisper in the sacred hush of the room. The response, when it came, echoed like a distant memory, my own voice veiled in a cloak of unfamiliarity. Though the words remained elusive, the cadence spoke volumes, a ghostly echo of my own essence. Sinking deeper into the embrace of the couch, my free hand traced idle patterns on the fabric, the lamp in the corner casting a warm, pulsating glow that seemed to dance in harmony with my breath. Beyond the window, moonlit clouds drifted, casting shadows that cavorted on the walls like playful spirits. The voice on the other end grew clearer, yet held an otherworldly quality, akin to listening to a conversation beneath the surface of a tranquil lake. Fragments of significance floated to the forefront, snippets of past moments, distorted yet familiar. It unraveled tales of decisions made, of diverging paths leading to uncharted territories. Time unfurled like molten honey, each second stretching languidly as if reluctant to slip away. The ticking of the wall clock slowed to a crawl, each beat resonating with a profound weight. The voice continued its hypnotic soliloquy, weaving a tapestry of alternate realities where choices bore unforeseen consequences. I found myself nodding in silent agreement, swept along by a current of inevitability. The room's temperature shifted imperceptibly, a subtle caress that enveloped me like a soft embrace. As the conversation meandered into the realm of tomorrow, whispered secrets of dawn's arrival unfurled like delicate petals. Outside, the wind whispered secrets to the ancient oak tree, its branches rustling against the window in a haunting serenade. The voice melded with the natural symphony, blurring the lines between reality and reverie. Like a river reaching its final destination, the conversation ebbed to a gentle close. In that twilight moment, my voice, an echo of the past and future intertwined, shared a long-forgotten childhood memory, resurrected in the present. The recollection blossomed within me, unfolding like a time-lapse flower, each petal a fragment of lost innocence. When the call concluded, I sat in the gathering darkness, cradling the phone in my hand, its warmth a lingering reminder of the ethereal connection. The screen displayed a call duration of 47 minutes, yet my call history bore no trace of the surreal conversation. Only the phantom memory lingered, growing more vivid with each passing heartbeat. Now, as night descends beyond the window, the refrigerator's steady hum reverberates through the stillness. A distant clock tolls midnight, marking the passage of time. My reflection in the window seems to lag behind, a subtle mirroring of my movements, perhaps a trick of the mind. The phone rests in silence on the table, a dormant artifact waiting to stir once more. Occasionally, a flicker of light catches my eye, illuminating my own name, my own visage, beckoning me to answer the enigmatic call that echoes through the quietude of the night. Story 9. The hotel's sign shimmered with a soft, almost otherworldly glow on that misty night. The doorman greeted me with a subtle smile, and the aroma of aged wood and wax enveloped me as I entered the lobby. My room, though simple, cradled me in comfort, lulling me into a deep slumber, weary from my travels. Dawn broke, and I descended to reception, only to find an empty expanse where the hotel once stood. I stood there, my travel bag hanging loosely from my shoulder, gazing at the wild grass swaying gently in the morning zephyr. The crisp air carried the scent of dew and untamed blossoms, a stark contrast to the refined elegance I had encountered mere hours ago. My mind grappled with the disparity between what my eyes beheld and the vivid recollections of the night before. Every detail remained etched in my mind with crystal clarity. The antique brass key, chillingly heavy in my hand, a relic from the doorman's grasp. The plush burgundy carpet that hushed my footsteps as I traced my path to room 47. The hallway adorned with wallpaper, adorned with delicate golden leaves that seemed to dance in the gentle glow of the sconces. My fingers lingered on the spot where my wrist had rested against the mahogany desk while I signed the guest register. The leather-bound book substantial in my hands, its pages whispering tales of the past. The ink flowed gracefully from the pen as I inscribed my name, the doorman's nod of approval etched in my memory. The room itself exuded a quiet comfort, with velvet curtains framing tall windows overlooking a serene garden. Lavender-scented linens graced the bed, a single rose in a crystal vase adorning the bedside table. The soft creak of the vintage radiator, the gentle tick-tock of an antique clock, all part of the symphony that lulled me to sleep. Above all, the haunting melody of a piano, a distant echo that tugged at my heartstrings, a melody both familiar and foreign. I've spent endless hours retracing my steps, questioning reality. The brass key, a tangible reminder of that ephemeral night, still rests in my pocket, its engraved number 247, a testament to the reality of my experience. The cityscape, familiar yet altered in the light of day, offers no solace. The buildings that once flanked the hotel now seem to press together, concealing the void that once held the grand establishment. Yet each night, as I drift into slumber, the scent of polished wood and fine leather dances around me. The elusive piano notes serenade my dreams, whispering secrets just beyond reach. The key, a silent sentinel on my nightstand, seems to glow with a spectral light, a silent witness to a night lost in time. I've sought answers in vain, the locals oblivious to the existence of the hotel that lingered in my memory. The key, a relic of a fleeting encounter, a connection to a realm that defies explanation. In the stillness of night, I ponder the enigma of the hotel that vanished with the dawn, the music that echoes in the chambers of my mind. The key remains, a beacon of a reality intertwined with dreams, a portal to a realm beyond comprehension. Perhaps, on a mist-laden night, the ethereal sign will beckon once more, the doorman awaiting my return with that knowing smile. Until then, I hold on to the key, a relic of a night suspended in time, a testament to a world that exists only in memory. Story 10. The rain softly tapped against the windows of my aged country abode, weaving a hypnotic melody with the gentle creaking of the wooden floor beneath me. It was an autumn night where reality and fantasy intertwined seamlessly. The leaves outside swayed in the darkness, casting elusive shadows on the cream walls through misty panes. Seated in my cherished armchair, cradling a cup of now chilled chamomile tea, I absent-mindedly watched as the light from the floor lamp painted a golden halo on the ground. An unfamiliar aura lingered that evening, a subtle yet persistent feeling that eluded my grasp. Was it the thickness of the air or the profound silence enveloping the house, almost palpable? Rising leisurely, I was compelled by a fleeting motion caught in my periphery. The hallway leading to the bedrooms appeared elongated, extending beyond its usual confines. Shadows lurked in the corners, dense and alive, as if concealing secrets of their own. Standing at the threshold, I gazed into the deepening darkness that cloaked the corridor's end. The temperature dropped gradually as I advanced, each footstep echoing differently, as though on unfamiliar ground. The ancestral photographs adorning the walls seemed to observe me with altered gazes, their familiar faces slightly distorted. Halting midway, a peculiar scent wafted to my senses, an ancient aroma of aged books and damp wood foreign to my home. Turning towards the window, rain had painted intricate patterns on the glass, following an enigmatic design. And there I saw it, a shadow darker than the rest, gliding gracefully along the opposing wall, possessing a solidity of its own, like solidified mist. It moved with a hesitant elegance, almost acknowledging my presence. My breath deepened as I studied this phenomenon, not with fear but a sense of recognition, as if it had always lingered, awaiting notice. The shadow paused by the guest room door, assuming a faintly human form. Taking another step forward, it seemed to respond to my proximity, wavering slightly. The rain's whisper now sounded like a constant murmur, a language unknown yet oddly understandable. The chill in the air enveloped me, a cool embrace akin to silk on a summer eve. The shadow resumed its slow dance, inching closer towards me with fluid motions. I stood transfixed, watching as it neared. As it halted a few steps away, the house fell silent, save for my steady heartbeat. The shadow tilted subtly as if in greeting. Acting on impulse, I raised my hand. Mirroring my gesture, the shadow extended what seemed like a hand, evoking a fleeting warmth where our touch almost met. Then, with graceful dissipation, the shadow dispersed into the air, leaving behind a hint of jasmine and a profound peace. Lost in the hallway, time seemed to stretch endlessly as the rain's rhythm faded. Returning to the living room, I found my tea still warm, as if time had paused during our encounter. Since that night, on rainy evenings, I tread the hallway with heightened awareness, glimpsing the familiar form dancing at the edge of sight. The mystery of the shadow remains unsolved, yet it left not unease, but an acceptance of the inexplicable. The hallway harbors its secret, and on quiet nights when rain taps against the windows, I await, curious and serene, for another encounter with the dancing shadow beyond. Story 11. The night held a unique essence, one that whispered of autumn seeping into your very being, promising nights that stretched longer and longer. Nestled in the cozy armchair of my study, I savored the symphony of the gentle wind outside, its caress on the leaves painting a serene melody. Amid this tranquility, a noise stirred from the depths of the basement, a soft rustling akin to the whisper of ancient paper. Initially, I dismissed it as the usual settling of the house, the quiet murmurs every abode makes as it readies itself for slumber. Intrigued more than alarmed, I rose from my seat. The warm glow of the desk lamp enveloped me in a halo of gold as I ventured towards the basement door. Each wooden step protested with a gentle creak, as if sharing ancient secrets in hushed tones. The air grew cooler with each descent, carrying hints of damp earth and forgotten tomes. In the basement, shadows waltzed along the walls to the flickering cadence of the light bulb, casting an eerie yet familiar aura. Rows of neatly stacked boxes and shrouded furniture stood like silent sentinels, resembling slumbering phantoms. But on this evening, an unfamiliar detail seized my attention. In the far corner where light struggled to reach, stood a door. Simple and unadorned, crafted from dark wood, it stood out starkly against the backdrop. What struck me odd was my lack of recollection of ever seeing it before, despite countless hours spent organizing in that space. The brass handle gleamed as if recently polished, drawing me closer. The floor beneath me pulsed with a chilling rhythm as I approached, fingers grazing the weathered wood, feeling its ancient irregularities. The door seemed to pulse beneath my touch, a silent acknowledgement of my presence. The silence grew oppressive, broken only by the drumming of my heart reverberating in my ears. Tentatively, I grasped the handle. Surprisingly warm against the cold air, it turned smoothly, revealing a breathtaking sight. Instead of a wall, a silvery mist undulated before me, exuding a gentle, hypnotic glow. Not menacing, but rather alluring, like a fading dream upon waking. A distant melody, delicate as a whisper, drifted from within the mist, accompanied by a scent of spring blooms and fresh tea. Caught between curiosity and caution, I lingered in the doorway. The mist swirled, forming ephemeral shapes that eluded clear definition, familiar faces, unseen landscapes. It was as if peering through a veil separating reality from an enigmatic realm beneath. Retreating, I closed the door gently, its lock clicking as if breaking a spell. The house's familiar sounds returned, the clock's tick upstairs, wind rustling through trees, a dog's distant bark in the tranquil neighborhood. Ascending the stairs, I carried with me the sense of having unearthed something extraordinary. In the days that followed, I revisited the basement, but the door had vanished, replaced by an impenetrable brick wall. Yet, on the quietest nights, when the world teetered between wakefulness and slumber, I still hear that distant melody, pondering if the door lingers hidden, awaiting another's discovery. Some doors, I learned, open only at certain junctures when time and space converge in unfathomable ways. Perhaps some mysteries are best left unsolved, their allure preserved like fleeting dreams that briefly touch reality before dissipating into the silver haze of memory. Story 12. The autumn breeze whispered gently through the rustling leaves as I meandered down the quiet country road, the setting sun casting a warm glow across the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The GPS had long ceased its guidance, but I felt no sense of unease. Familiar with these winding paths, or so I thought, I continued on. The dirt road curved leisurely amidst hills adorned with barren vineyards, a symphony of earthy scents and fallen foliage wafting in through the cracked window. In that moment, time seemed to stretch, allowing me to relish each passing second. Turning right at the weathered wooden sign, a realization dawned upon me. This road was unfamiliar, a hidden gem in my mental map of the area. Coming to a halt, I tried to reorient myself. Shadows lengthened, weaving intricate patterns between the trees that lined the road. The road beneath my tires was unnaturally pristine, lacking the usual signs of neglect one would expect from a remote country lane. Smooth asphalt stretched ahead, disappearing into the encroaching evening mist. Leaves danced lazily in the air, as if reluctant to part ways with the moment. Proceeding cautiously, I found myself captivated by the evolving scenery. The trees flanking the road appeared ancient and twisted, their intertwined canopies forming a natural tunnel through which the fading twilight seeped. In the distance, faint lights flickered like misplaced fireflies, gracefully moving between the tree trunks, ephemeral and elusive. The silence enveloped me, broken only by the gentle hum of the engine and the whisper of leaves stirred by the breeze. As I advanced, subtle shifts in the surroundings caught my attention. The road's edges blurred, as if softened by an unseen hand. Shadows deepened, yet not menacingly so. Reality itself seemed to melt, its sharp edges dissolving into a dreamlike haze. Abruptly, a sight beckoned me. An ancient brass mailbox stood by the roadside, its impeccable condition defying its age. Adorned with a compass rose engraving, it exuded a faint warmth as my fingers brushed its surface, contrasting the cool evening air. The road continued to wind, revealing increasingly peculiar details. Small milestone stones emitted a gentle glow, seemingly lit from within, casting a phosphorescent aura along the path. The sky above shimmered with an indefinable hue, a color unique to this forgotten realm. Stars timidly emerged, their presence surreal, as if gazing upon a celestial canvas from a distant time or place. After what felt like both an eternity and a fleeting moment, I reached a crest where the road opened into a circular clearing, paved with ancient stones. At its heart stood a weathered wrought iron lamppost, casting a welcoming glow. Exiting the car, I found the air eerily still, as if time itself held its breath. From this vantage point, the distant city lights appeared distant, almost alien, separated from this serene reality by an unseen veil. Surveying the panorama, I noted a transformation in the road behind me. Once sleek asphalt, it now bore the marks of time, paved with weathered stones worn by untold journeys. Yet, mere moments ago, I had traversed a modern surface. Retrieving the road map from the glove compartment, I scrutinized it under the lamppost's warm light. True to my intuition, the road I had traveled was absent from the map, as if it existed solely in the realm of dreams. As the wind gently toyed with the map, golden lines briefly shimmered, tracing a path that faded as swiftly as it appeared. Blinking in disbelief, I lingered in this surreal sanctuary, enveloped in a tranquil calm. When the decision to depart finally arose, I found the lamppost extinguished, the path ahead cloaked in darkness. Yet an inner knowing assured me it would guide me home. Navigating towards the city, I stole glances in the rearview mirror. The lamppost had reignited, its glow diminishing with each mile traveled. A golden luminescence danced in the air, an ethereal trail left behind, unseen on any map. In the days that ensued, I embarked on numerous quests to rediscover that mysterious road. Hours drifted by as I combed through the countryside, exploring every fork and lane. Alas, the road with its solitary lamppost and luminous stones eluded me, vanishing like a dream upon waking. A faint golden trace on my aged map served as the sole reminder of my ethereal journey, visible only when illuminated just so, a clandestine secret awaiting its rediscovery in the realms of slumber. Story 13. In the tranquil embrace of my old country house, the heavy rain outside played a hypnotic melody on the roof, a soothing rhythm that echoed through the dimly lit rooms. The flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the walls as I settled into my favorite armchair, cradling a warm cup of tea in my hands. The gentle wind whispered through the trees in the garden, rustling the leaves in a natural lullaby that seemed to beckon me into a peaceful trance. Amid the familiar sounds of the house, the creaking of the wood, the ticking of the old clock in the entryway, the soft whistle of the wind seeping through the cracks, a subtle unease began to stir within me, a feeling that something unseen was stirring in the shadows. As I took a sip of tea, my gaze wandered to the hallway mirror, reflecting the upstairs bedroom window. A strange luminescence seemed to emanate from the room, a soft glow that defied explanation. With a sense of curiosity tinged with trepidation, I set down my cup and rose from my chair, drawn to investigate the mysterious light. The wooden stairs groaned beneath my weight as I ascended, each step a whispered secret of the house's history. The air grew chillier with each passing moment, a thin mist clinging to the walls like a ghostly shroud. When I reached the bedroom door, a sense of foreboding gripped me, hesitating my hand before the icy touch of the brass handle. With a slow, hesitant push, the door swung open, revealing the room cloaked in shadows. The window, the source of the strange light, stood closed and silent. But as I watched in astonishment, the lock began to shift on its own, the glass pane sliding open inch by inch, propelled by an unseen force. The rain outside whispered its way into the room, carrying with it a scent of bygone days, of dried flowers and ancient wood. I approached the window cautiously, watching as the raindrops defied gravity, dancing in midair before gently alighting on the floor in intricate patterns. And then a marvel beyond comprehension unfolded before my eyes. Words began to materialize on the fogged glass, as if an invisible hand was tracing a message from another realm. The letters blurred and faded, teasing my senses with their inscrutable meaning. The curtains stirred as if stirred by an invisible breath, their languid movement akin to the rhythmic rise and fall of a slumbering chest. Moonlight filtered through the rain-laden clouds, casting ethereal shadows that seemed to whisper tales of forgotten times. With a trembling hand, I reached out towards the glass, feeling the chill of the night air caress my fingertips. Just as I was on the verge of touching the mysterious writing, the window closed with a gentle sigh, the lock clicking softly into place. I stood transfixed, a silent witness to the enigma that had unfolded before me. The scent of antiquity lingered for a moment before fading, leaving me alone in the quiet room, the rain outside now a mere murmur in the night. Since that fateful night, whenever the rain falls, I find myself drawn to the mirror in the hallway, watching for the window's reflection. Sometimes it remains still, a silent sentinel. Other times it opens slowly, a ghostly invitation to a world beyond our own. The mystery of the opening window remains unsolved, a secret shared only between myself and the ancient walls of my home. And on nights when the wind whispers through the trees and the rain falls gently, I sense a presence, unseen yet palpable, a guardian of shadows that lingers in the periphery of my world. Story 14. The gentle breeze whispered through the evening, carrying the delicate fragrance of night-blooming flowers from the garden. Nestled in my favorite armchair, I found myself entranced by the shadows that danced gracefully on the walls of the living room, cast by the flickering flame of a solitary candle. Beside me, resting on the small table, was my trusted companion. An old Polaroid camera, a cherished heirloom gifted to me by my grandmother. Although it had been ages since I last held it in my hands, a mysterious urge compelled me to pick it up on that particular night. The familiar weight of the camera brought a sense of solace as I examined it in the dim light. My fingers gravitated towards the shutter button, emotion ingrained from countless memories captured through its lens. Without deliberation, I aimed the camera towards the darkest corner of the room and clicked. The flash briefly illuminated the space, followed by the mechanical hum of the photograph slowly materializing. Patiently, I awaited the image to reveal itself, observing as colors materialized on the blank canvas. To my astonishment, a vague figure materialized in the corner I had captured, an ethereal presence, indistinct yet hauntingly present. It hovered like a wisp of smoke, almost human-like in form. Curiosity piqued, I snapped another photo in the same direction. This time, the figure appeared more defined, as if drawing closer to the lens. The outline of a face emerged, shrouded in a blur of uncertainty. A subtle chill tingled down my spine, not born of fear, but of a profound fascination. Driven by an unseen force, I continued to capture image after image, each unveiling the figure in greater clarity. It was as though the entity used the photographs as a conduit to materialize, each shot granting it more substance in our realm. The vague contours began to solidify, unveiling what seemed to be a vintage attire reminiscent of a bygone era. A hush descended upon the room, thick with an unseen presence that permeated the very air. The atmosphere grew laden, the candle flame flickering without a breath of wind. Undeterred, I persisted in capturing the unfolding enigma, each click a silent exchange with the spectral being. In the final photo of that fateful evening, the figure loomed so near that it dominated the frame. A gentle smile graced the woman's face, her eyes seemingly peering directly into mine through the glossy Polaroid surface. There was a striking familiarity in that visage, stirring dormant memories of my childhood. As I rose to retrieve an old photo album, a tremor shook my hands imperceptibly. Leafing through the aged pages, I stumbled upon a photograph that unraveled the mystery. A portrait of my grandmother in her youth, captured with the very same Polaroid. The mirrored smile in the photograph mirrored the one immortalized in the final snapshot. Arranging the photographs from that surreal evening in chronological order on the table, they wove a silent tale of a bridge spanning two worlds, bridged by the lens of an ancient camera. I refrained from repeating the peculiar experiment, returning the Polaroid to its resting place on the shelf. Even now, on tranquil evenings suffused with the golden hues of dusk, I find myself drawn to those enigmatic photographs. At times, it appears as though the smile in the images subtly shifts, as if my grandmother seeks to convey a message. In those fleeting moments, the boundary between memory and reality blurs, akin to the fragile surface of a freshly developed Polaroid. Story 15. The wooden floor whispered beneath my feet as I strolled down the hallway in the hushed glow of twilight. Grandma's house had a way of speaking, each creak and groan a tale untold. Lavender and aged wood mingled in the air, a comforting aroma that had lingered through all my childhood summers. Yet on this particular evening, a shift was palpable. Pausing before the weathered attic door, a newfound detail beckoned me closer. The white paint, worn and chipped, bore cryptic marks upon its surface. These were no random etchings of time, but deliberate patterns, as if a message longed to be revealed from within. The setting sun cast amber hues, casting elongated shadows that danced along the walls. Solemn silence was broken solely by the grandfather clock's steady tick downstairs and the wind's gentle caress on the leaves outside. I traced my fingers over the markings, feeling the rough texture of the scratched wood beneath. Methodical and almost geometric, they hinted at a hidden story. Some marks were deep, others faint, suggesting a narrative crafted over time. How many times had I passed this door blind to its secrets? Grandma had never spoken of strange occurrences in the attic, yet her avoidance of those stairs now echoed in my thoughts. A chill brushed my neck, a whisper of a breeze that made me shiver. The hallway stretched, shadows thickening around me. Retrieving the heavy brass key from its hook, adorned with faded floral designs, I hesitantly inserted it into the lock. With a slight resistance, I turned the key, and a subtle sound caught my ear, a breath, deep and slow, seeming to exhale from the other side. Heart racing, I stood frozen as the sound vanished, leaving only the house's silence. With trembling hands, I illuminated the door with my phone's light, revealing hidden details in the shadows. The scratches formed a circular motif, a spiral of mystery. At the center, delicate numbers were etched, nearly imperceptible. Struggling to decipher them, a distant memory stirred within me. Grandma had mentioned a secret diary concealed in the house, its contents shrouded in mystery. The wind outside grew louder, the windows protesting with eerie moans. Shadows swayed, a spectral waltz in the dimming light. A connection between the numbers and the hidden diary tugged at me, yet an unspoken force held me back. Was it instinct or ancestral wisdom cautioning me? Slowly retreating, a faint scratching emanated from the attic, not menacing but deliberate, as if a message was being patiently crafted. Glancing back, the scratches seemed to glow faintly in the fading daylight. That night, nestled in bed, the numbers lingered in my thoughts. Recording them in my notebook, I vowed to return the next day for further investigation. However, at dawn's light, the attic door appeared unblemished, devoid of any markings. Only the brass key, with its enigmatic gleam, hinted at a concealed truth not yet ready to be unveiled. Since that day, each visit to Grandma's house finds me pausing at the door. Sometimes the scratches seem to reappear in the shadows, or the faint breath echoes from beyond. Yet, I resist the urge to unlock the mystery again. Certain enigmas, perhaps, are best preserved in the silence of an ancient home and the memories of those attuned to its whispers. Story 16. The Night of Whispers. Silence wrapped itself around the narrow streets of the quaint hillside village like a soft, velvety cloak. On this particular autumn evening, the air carried the scent of burning wood and damp leaves, while tendrils of mist slithered through the winding alleys like a stealthy feline. From the vantage point of my third-floor apartment, I gazed out at the windows of the neighboring houses, each one bathed in a gentle, golden glow. It struck me as peculiar to see so many lights aglow at such a late hour, yet there was a stillness behind those foggy panes that felt almost palpable. The distant toll of the church bell echoed through the night, marking the hour as 10 o'clock, its usual resonance muted as if shrouded in a cocoon of cotton. Though I had only recently arrived in this enigmatic town 3 weeks prior, never had I witnessed the streets so devoid of life. Normally, even at this late hour, a solitary figure would amble by, accompanied by a loyal canine companion, or the murmur of young voices from the corner tavern would drift through the night air, punctuated by the glow of a cigarette beneath the flickering street lamp. Sinking into the embrace of my favorite armchair, a cup of chamomile tea cradled between my palms, I observed the absence of even the stray cat that typically prowled along Mrs. Miller's windowsill. Wisps of steam twirled from the cup, weaving ephemeral shapes that dissolved into the darkness of the room. Opting to keep only a small reading lamp illuminated, casting gentle shadows upon the cream-colored walls, I found myself ensconced in a cocoon of tranquility. A sudden rustling broke the stillness, emanating from the hallway that led to the bedroom. Intrigued more than alarmed, I turned towards the source of the sound. It persisted at regular intervals, reminiscent of a whispering breeze ruffling a sheet of paper along the floor. Rising from my seat, I set the cup down on the wooden side table with care before padding towards the hallway. An icy chill had descended, not the biting cold of winter, but a coolness akin to that of an ancient sanctuary. The floorboards murmured softly underfoot, a familiar sound that offered a peculiar comfort. Halting at the threshold of the bedroom, I hesitated. The door stood slightly ajar, a ghostly hue seeping through the crack, unlike any light source within the apartment. With a gentle push, the door yielded, emitting a soft creak. The window remained closed, yet the curtain fluttered as if stirred by an unseen breath. Nestled on the floor beneath the window, a solitary sheet of paper lay, beckoning to be retrieved. Drawing closer, I discerned it to be a weathered newspaper page, its heading bearing the date October 15, 1954. The headline that met my gaze read, "Enigmatic Night of Whispers in Willow Creek." The article recounted a night when the inhabitants of the town had retreated into their homes, as if compelled by an unspoken pact whose origins had faded into obscurity. As I delved into the text, a movement beyond the window seized my attention. Across the street, the lights in the neighboring houses began to flicker out one by one, akin to candles extinguished by a phantom breath. Yet, within the shrouded interiors, motionless silhouettes lingered, their gaze seemingly fixed upon the deserted street. A faint vibration in my robe pocket startled me. Retrieving my cell phone, I beheld a message from the building's WhatsApp group. "Tonight, remain indoors. It is imperative." Peering out the window once more, I noted that all illumination had dissipated, save for my own solitary light. In the deepening hush, the rhythm of my heartbeat slowed, as if harmonizing with a primordial cadence, ancient and unfathomable. Perching on the edge of the bed, the newspaper cradled in my grasp, I marveled at its silk-like texture, as though imbued with a myriad of untold tales. Beyond the window, the mist had thickened, enveloping the street lamps in a ghostly halo. From my elevated vantage point, I beheld the entirety of the main thoroughfare, rendered desolate by an unseen force. Reflecting on the narrative within the article, I pondered the aftermath. Purportedly, the denizens of the town had awoken the following day with no recollection of the events that transpired during that enigmatic night of whispers. Life had resumed its course, veiled in a cloak of forgetfulness, though sporadically the phenomenon would recur. Rising to my feet, I ambled towards the switch that controlled the light. Pausing before its decisive flick, I cast a final glance out the window. The mist, now assuming sinuous, almost choreographed forms, appeared to harbor shadowy figures that pirouetted within its nebulous depths, akin to specters adrift in a sea of opalescent milk. With a solemn resolve, I extinguished the light, reclining upon the bed fully clothed. A profound silence enveloped me, punctuated solely by the metronomic tick of the clock upon the nightstand. As slumber beckoned, I pondered whether the dawn would herald remembrance of this enigmatic night, or whether I, like the other inhabitants of the town, would remain oblivious to the cyclical enigma that threaded through our lives. The final vestige of consciousness ebbed away, ensnared by the distant toll of midnight bells, their chime resonating as if whispered from a realm beyond time, where silence reigned as the universal tongue of all beings. Story 17. The night was draped in a serene silence, broken only by the rhythmic symphony of the train wheels dancing on the tracks. Nestled in the final car, I found myself enveloped in a soft, gentle glow emanating from the delicate fixtures above. The air held a comforting warmth, and the ceaseless swaying of the train engendered an almost hypnotic trance. Peering through the window, I beheld the mist waltzing lazily in the darkness, shaping ephemeral forms that dissolved into the night. In that solitary car, or so I believed, my reflection on the glass intertwined with the obscurity outside, conjuring an illusion of an enigmatic presence observing me from beyond. The cadence of the rails carried a soothing quality, akin to a mechanical lullaby coaxing me towards slumber. It was in that moment of tranquility that a peculiar anomaly caught my eye within my reflected image on the glass. A shadow loomed behind me, a figure seated a few rows distant. Perplexed, for I had not recalled another soul boarding, yet here one sat, unmistakably present. The train pressed forward into the nocturnal expanse, and the constant whisper of the wheels seemed to murmur ancient, forgotten tales. With caution, I pivoted to face the enigmatic being. Amber light bathed the car, casting elongated shadows across the vacant seats. The figure, cloaked in a shroud of darkness, remained motionless, obscured beneath the brim of a wide hat. Time ebbed languidly as I scrutinized the silent observer. A weightiness pervaded the air, pregnant with memories foreign to me. The passenger made no gesture, uttered no word, merely existing as though an intrinsic component of the train itself. Resolved to investigate, I feigned a stroll towards the rear lavatory. Approaching the mysterious presence, I discerned that their coats seemed to swallow any glimmer of light, cloaked in an eerie darkness. A chill lingered in the air surrounding them, accompanied by a delicate fragrance of lavender and aged tomes. Passing their seat, I felt time falter momentarily, the distant hum of the rails fading into a faraway realm. A disquieting realization seized me. Beneath the cloak, there was no telltale rise and fall of breath, no sign of life. Reaching the end of the car, uncertainty gripped me, uncertain whether to advance to the next car or return to my seat. The corridor stretched endlessly, the dim lights weaving hypnotic patterns upon the floor. Glancing back, the space once occupied by the mysterious figure now sat vacant. In its stead rested an antiquated train ticket, weathered with age. Trembling, I retrieved the ticket, its date marking 50 years past, on that very day. Still warm to the touch, though recently held, the ticket whispered of a bygone era. Retreating to my seat, I clutched the ticket, its fragile presence a tangible reminder of the surreal encounter. The train pressed on through the night, the rhythmic melody of the wheels soothing once more. Beyond the fogged window, shadowy figures seemed to tread alongside the train, silent companions on its nocturnal voyage. Fatigue tugged at my consciousness, prompting contemplation of how many others had crossed paths with the mysterious passenger on the final train of the night. The ticket, a solitary memento of that ethereal meeting, began to waver, fading like a fleeting dream upon waking. The train carried its enigmatic secrets and spectral passengers into the night's embrace. As slumber beckoned, a hint of lavender lingered in the air, accompanied by the fading echo of retreating footsteps down the car's corridor. And in that moment of drowsy surrender, I surrendered to the mysteries of the night, lulled by the hypnotic journey of the train. Story 18. The night draped the house in a cloak of profound quietness, broken only by the soft tap of raindrops on the window panes. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I observed the shadows waltzing on the walls, moving in harmony with the flickering firelight from the hearth. The warmth enveloped me like a snug blanket, while the fragrance of burning wood mingled with the delicate scent of vanilla tea cradled in my hands. It was in that moment of utter tranquility that I caught sight of something peculiar in my niece's playroom, peeking through the slightly ajar door. An antique porcelain music box, a keepsake from Grandma, seemed to emit a faint bluish radiance. I couldn't recall it ever glowing like that before. Gradually, I rose from the armchair, placing the teacup on the wooden side table. Each step I took on the floor produced a gentle creak that harmonized with the rain's rhythm, creating an almost hypnotic tune. As I drew nearer to the door, the glow intensified yet retained its softness, akin to moonlight shimmering on tranquil waters. The playroom was a haven of memories and enchantment. Weathered shelves displayed porcelain dolls in Victorian attire, vibrant toy trains, and plush animals with gentle gazes. The music box held a prominent spot on the central shelf, surrounded by small crystals my niece had gathered during her garden strolls. The porcelain ballerina adorning the music box, usually frozen in her eternal pose, swayed ever so slightly, as if caressed by an unseen breeze. I inched closer, noting the room's noticeably cooler temperature compared to the rest of the house. My breath materialized in small, vaporous clouds, while the crystals encircling the music box seemed to react to its light, casting miniature rainbows on the walls. The ballerina continued her subtle movements, and I could almost hear a faint melody in the distance, like a musical whisper from a bygone era. I extended my hand towards the music box, and at that instant, the blue light pulsed gently. The other dolls on the shelf seemed to have turned their heads towards me slightly, but as I blinked, they returned to their original positions. The melody grew clearer. It was a lullaby Grandma used to sing, a tune I had believed faded from memory. The music box began rotating on its own, at a leisurely pace. The ballerina danced with an unearthly grace, her motions fluid as those of a living dancer. The crystals now cast intricate patterns on the ceiling, weaving designs that seemed to narrate tales of ancient times. The room filled with memories, as if time itself had condensed around that small, enchanted object. I stood transfixed, spellbound by the spectacle. The music from the box intertwined with the rain's melody, crafting a symphony that whispered of longing and concealed truths. The shadows in the room appeared to sway to the music's cadence, and for a fleeting moment, I sensed I was not alone in witnessing this private exhibition. Slowly the melody began to fade, like a dream slipping away upon waking. The blue light of the music box dimmed to a barely perceptible glow, and the ballerina ceased her dance altogether. Silence descended upon the room, but it was a different silence, pregnant with significance and enigma. Retreating to my armchair, I lifted my now tepid tea. Watching the final embers in the fireplace, I pondered Grandma and her fondness for objects steeped in history. I mused on whether she had ever encountered something akin to this, whether the music box had always possessed that mystical aura, or if it was a special gift, reserved for select moments and observers. Since that night, whenever I pass by the playroom, I steal a glance at the music box. Sometimes, I glimpse a fleeting blue radiance or catch the initial notes of that forgotten lullaby. Yet, perhaps it's merely memories pirouetting in my mind, akin to that porcelain ballerina on that rainy night. Story 19. The gentle symphony of raindrops against my window had become a familiar serenade during my late-night writing rituals. Each droplet painted shimmering trails down the glass, weaving an ever-changing tapestry of liquid light. The soft glow of my desk lamp enveloped me in a cozy amber halo, while the rest of the room slumbered in velvety darkness. I found solace in observing the rain's dance, deciphering intricate patterns in its wandering paths. On this particular night, however, a subtle shift in the rainfall caught my attention. The water seemed to flow with purpose, as if guided by an unseen force. Initially, I attributed it to my weary eyes playing tricks on me. The rhythmic patter of rain almost lulled me into a tranquil state between consciousness and dreams. Yet, the peculiar movements of the droplets persisted, carving out dry spaces on the glass that gradually formed the silhouette of a figure. Intrigued, I leaned in closer to the window, where the reflection not only mirrored the rain outside, but also the dimly lit interior behind me. As I peered at my reflection, a strange sensation crept over me. It felt as though my reflection was slightly delayed in mimicking my actions, creating an unsettling discordance. The rain's hushed melody intensified, filling the room with its peaceful cadence. Mesmerized, I watched as my mirrored self reached out to touch the glass, a gesture I had not initiated. The movement was fluid, almost ethereal, as if following a choreography unbeknownst to me. A gentle warmth enveloped me, contrasting the cool air by the window. The features of my reflection began to transform, shifting into a visage that was at once recognizable yet enigmatic. The eyes that stared back at me held a profound wisdom, hinting at a timeless existence beyond my own. Motionless, I observed as my reflection transcended gender and age, embodying an essence beyond earthly definitions. The rain wove intricate circles around this enigmatic figure, defying gravity with each graceful droplet. A flicker of my desk lamp briefly dimmed the room, and in that ephemeral darkness, a presence brushed against me, as tender as a mother's caress. As the light steadied, my reflection reverted to its usual mimicry of my movements. But the rain continued its mesmerizing dance, swirling in perfect circles, a reminder of the extraordinary encounter I had just witnessed. I sat by the window for hours, contemplating the ethereal visitation that had graced me. The lingering presence felt like a cherished memory, neither ominous nor intrusive. As the dawn approached, the rain gradually waned, leaving behind a window adorned with mundane water streaks. Now, on rainy nights, I find myself drawn to that window, abandoning pen and paper on my desk. Occasionally, under the perfect alignment of raindrops, I glimpse my other self peering back at me through the looking glass. There exists a silent understanding between us, acknowledging that certain mysteries are meant to be embraced rather than deciphered. The rain continues its gentle descent, each drop carrying the promise of another encounter. In those fleeting moments of mutual observation, I ponder if in a parallel realm, another iteration of myself sits by their own window, yearning to catch a glimpse of my world through the shimmering veil of rain. Story 20. The old countryside house was draped in the embrace of night, a deep tranquility settling over its time-worn walls. Nestled in my beloved armchair beside the crackling fireplace, I watched as shadows waltzed across the room, painted by the slow dance of flickering flames devouring logs. The warmth of the fire enveloped me like a comforting shawl, while outside, the autumn wind whispered through the trees, a gentle caress on the rustling leaves. Amid this perfect serenity, a peculiar sound pierced the stillness, an ethereal, childlike laughter, as delicate and pure as silver bells, drifted down from the upper floor of the house. Pausing to listen, I let the enchanting sound weave through the crackling symphony of the fire. There was no hint of menace in that laughter, Instead, it carried a joyous, melodic quality that stirred something within me. Having lived alone in this house for over 2 decades, the laughter struck me as a curious anomaly. Intrigue began to stir within me, a quiet stream of curiosity replacing the drowsiness that had threatened to lull me into slumber. With deliberate movements, I rose from the armchair, relishing the soft caress of my feet on the ancient Persian rug as I made my way towards the stairs. Each step creaked softly beneath my weight as I ascended, the warm glow of candlelight in the living room casting dancing shadows on the walls, a silent performance accompanying my journey. Ascending the stairs, the air grew cooler, a gentle chill that brushed against my skin like a tender embrace, reminiscent of a seaside breeze. Once more, the crystalline laughter tinkled through the air, closer now, emanating from the guest room. A room seldom used, its antique furnishings cloaked in white sheets that swayed gently as if moved by unseen hands. The door to the room stood ajar, allowing a shimmering, silvery light to spill forth. A light unlike any other in the house, its gentle, pulsating glow creating an otherworldly ambience. Pushing the door open, the aged wood sang a familiar tune as the room unfolded before me, bathed in that mysterious luminescence. The draped furniture cast soft, comforting shapes like billowing clouds against a clear sky. Perched on the windowsill, not as a defined figure, but a play of light and shadow that mimicked the form of a child, was a sight that stole my breath. The laughter, pure and joyful, resonated from this luminous presence, filling the room with a sense of wonder rather than fear. The light child seemed to dance with the radiant beams it emitted, painting ephemeral patterns on the walls as if creating art with light itself. Approaching cautiously, the room's temperature fluctuated subtly between cool and warm, like the ebb and flow of ocean waves on a tranquil shore. As I drew nearer, a sense of familiarity washed over me. The fluid movements of the light child mirrored those of my own childhood, a long-forgotten memory resurrected in that moment. The realization dawned upon me gently, like a whisper of recognition. The crystalline laughter that echoed through the room was my own laughter from days gone by. Time seemed to stretch and contract as I observed this surreal spectacle, the light child's silent play punctuated by that melodic laughter, a reverberation from the past. I refrained from speaking or disrupting the fragile peace, wary of shattering the spell of tranquility and nostalgia that enveloped the room. Slowly, the silvery light began to wane, much like the fading light of a winter sunset, the childlike figure gradually dissipating until only a faint glow remained. The final laughter, soft as a whisper, bid a gentle farewell before dissolving into the darkness, leaving me ensconced in a profound silence. The swaying sheets on the furniture stilled, the room returning to its former state, yet something had shifted. What was once a mere repository of dusty memories now held a hidden treasure, a secret waiting to be unraveled. Retreating to my armchair by the fireplace, the embers smoldering in a slow, hypnotic dance, I settled amidst the cushions, acknowledging that the events of that night would forever remain a mystery. Was it a dream, a memory, or perhaps a profound message from the past, manifested through the innocent laughter of a child in the shadows? Since that night, whenever I pass by the guest room, a hushed pause lingers as if in anticipation. On the quietest of nights, a faint echo of that crystalline laughter seems to drift through the air, a gentle lullaby guiding me towards slumber. And with a smile, I embrace the mystery, allowing it to endure as a sweet secret shared between myself and the child who laughs in the darkness. Story 21. The autumn mist draped the streets like a soft gray shroud, casting a mysterious glow around every corner. It was late, and exhaustion weighed heavy on my shoulders as I made my way home from a grueling shift. That's when I noticed it, a pair of headlights gliding through the fog behind me, never faltering, never drawing closer. An eerie feeling crept over me, a whisper in my mind hinting at the strangeness of this unseen follower. The hum of the engine trailed behind me like a steady heartbeat, matching the cadence of my journey with unnerving precision. Every maneuver I made, it mirrored. Slow down, it slowed down. Speed up, it did the same. In my rearview mirror, a shadowy figure emerged, a car-shaped silhouette with headlights that gleamed like vigilant eyes watching my every move. The road twisted through the quiet neighborhood, the houses standing in silent vigil as I navigated the maze of streets, the tension mounting with each passing moment. Curiosity stirred within me, prompting me to deviate from my usual route and venture down unfamiliar paths. Yet the car persisted, a constant companion in the mist, a strange familiarity in the darkness. The gentle patter of rain on the windshield provided a soothing backdrop to the surreal scenario unfolding behind me. Rivulets of water streaked down the glass, distorting the view of my persistent follower. I turned left, then right, then left again, our nocturnal tango continuing unabated, bound by an invisible tether that defied explanation. The headlights remained a constant presence, a silent sentinel in the night, never drawing too near, never falling behind. At a red light, I stole a glance through the rain-streaked window, and for the first time, I glimpsed more than just a shadow. A figure, motionless in the driver's seat, an enigmatic presence that sent a shiver down my spine. When I finally arrived home, the car lingered in the distance, a faithful specter in the night. With the engine silenced, the only sounds were the rain tapping gently on the roof and the frantic thud of my own heart. Through the rearview mirror, I watched as the headlights dimmed, casting the street into darkness. Yet the silhouette lingered, a ghostly reminder of the inexplicable events that had transpired. Summoning my courage, I stepped out into the rain, the droplets splattering against my jacket as I turned to confront my unseen pursuer. But the street lay empty before me, devoid of any trace of the car that had trailed me so faithfully. Since that fateful night, a sense of unease haunts my nocturnal drives, a constant vigilance in the face of the unknown. And on fog-laden evenings, a flicker of light in the distance stirs a familiar dread within me. A question lingering in the air of whether that elusive car still prowls the night, seeking its next unwitting companion, or if it waits, biding its time for a clandestine reunion amidst the city's sleeping streets. Story 22. The rain softly tapped against the windows of my study, a gentle lullaby harmonizing with the crackling fire in the hearth. Nestled in my favorite armchair, I gazed absent-mindedly at the newest addition to my collection, an antique painting portraying an autumn scene. Discovered in a quaint shop, its rich hues and enigmatic aura had drawn me in. The aged golden frame shimmered in the flickering light, casting dancing reflections around the room. As the storm outside intensified, a peculiar occurrence captured my attention within the painting. The leaves appeared to rustle, as if stirred by an unseen breeze. Initially dismissing it as a trick of the fire's shadows, I soon realized a subtle shift in the painting's essence. The colors deepened, the path elongated, winding beyond the confines of the canvas. Intrigued, I rose from my seat and approached the painting. A coolness enveloped me, stark against the warmth of the fire as I touched the canvas. Its texture was smooth, almost silky, emitting a scent of damp earth and fallen leaves. An air of realism pervaded the room, prompting me to question my surroundings. Within the painting, movement stirred among the branches of an ancient tree. Not mere play of light, but intentional motion, hinting at a hidden presence. Curiosity outweighed any fear as I observed the brushstrokes shift, creating new forms in the landscape. The rain's patter transformed into a soothing whisper, synchronized with the painting's metamorphosis. Spellbound, I settled back into my chair, engrossed in the unfolding spectacle. The room expanded, the boundaries blurred between reality and the painted world. Through the night, the painting evolved, cycling through vivid hues unseen before. The distant stone house grew distinct, emitting a warm glow from its windows and chimney. I pondered who dwelled within, pondering if they glimpsed me through this enchanted portal. Yet tranquility enveloped me, as if I had unearthed the gateway to a realm where truth and imagination intertwined seamlessly. Time passed, and the painting divulged its mysteries gradually, figures fleeting along the path, shadows dancing among the trees, disappearing like wisps of a dream. As dawn painted the sky in hues of pink, the painting returned to its original state, the house fading into the morning mist. Only the lingering scent of wet leaves remained, a silent testament to the nocturnal revelations. Since that night, I sit in anticipation each evening, watching the painting with patience. Sometimes it unveils its secrets, while other times it remains still, a mere canvas. Yet I know a hidden world lies beyond, awakening when the world slumbers, for those willing to linger and observe. Story 23. In the quiet stillness of a weary evening, I retreated to my study, seeking solace in the familiar embrace of old leather and yellowed pages. The amber glow of the desk lamp danced softly, casting shadows that whispered tales of forgotten books. The scent of ink and paper enveloped me like a gentle mist, calming my restless mind as I sank into the worn leather armchair. My grandmother's gift, the old diary, lay open on the polished desk, its pages holding secrets I had entrusted only to its weathered cover. But tonight, a subtle shift in the air hinted at something otherworldly. The last page I had touched now bore elegant script, foreign yet intimate, weaving a narrative I had never penned. As rain tapped a soothing melody on the window, I delved into the mysterious prose that seemed to mirror my very existence. Each word painted a portrait of my surroundings with eerie precision, as if a silent observer guided my hand to turn the pages. With each turn, the room unfolded in the diary's words, revealing forgotten titles on the shelves and memories long buried beneath the dust of time. The ink flowed like a river, tracing my every breath and heartbeat in a dance of ethereal connection. I rose, transfixed, as the room pulsed with a life of its own. The rain's rhythm grew stronger, cocooning me in a world where reality blurred with dreams. Settling on the couch, I surrendered to the diary's whispered confessions, feeling a kinship with the words that wove a tapestry of my past. The night deepened, and the diary's whispers grew more intimate, drawing me closer to a truth I could not name. With each revelation, a sense of peace washed over me, mingling with a curiosity that bloomed like a hidden flower in the darkness. As the clock struck midnight, I realized I had dwelled in this silent communion for hours, lost in a realm where words held more weight than reality. The final message, cryptic yet profound, echoed in my soul. Some mysteries don't need to be solved to be understood. Closing the diary, I felt a shift within myself, a subtle stirring of awareness that transcended the physical realm. The rain outside murmured a lullaby, weaving a tapestry of sound that cradled me in its embrace. As I retired for the night, I cast a lingering gaze at the study, where the diary lay in silent repose. Though outwardly unchanged, I knew that within me, a seed of understanding had been planted, nurtured by the enigmatic words that danced on the pages. Night draped the study in shadows, the lamp's glow a silent sentinel to the mysteries that lingered in the air. With a whispered breath, I closed the door, knowing that some secrets are meant to remain untold, cherished in their enigmatic beauty for eternity. Story 24. The clock in my study chimed midnight, its deep resonance filling the air like gentle ripples on a tranquil pond. Rain whispered against the window panes as I sat in my worn leather armchair, a book cradled in my lap. The old house murmured around me, settling into the embrace of the night. My gaze drifted to the hallway door, bathed in the soft glow of my reading lamp. There was a subtle change tonight, a shift in the air that made the familiar door seem strangely unfamiliar. The brass handle gleamed in a different light, the wood grain appearing altered. Despite 15 years in this house, the door felt like a stranger tonight. I rose, marking my place in the book with a silk ribbon. The floor felt cool beneath my slippers as I approached the door. A chill seemed to settle around it, like a whisper of winter in the midst of autumn. The handle, once cool to the touch, now radiated warmth, a stark contrast to the night's cool embrace. As the door swung open, the hallway beyond appeared unchanged. The same wallpaper, the same carpet, the same framed photographs. I closed it, dismissing my own imagination's tricks. Perhaps it was the late hour playing tricks on me. That night, my dreams were filled with doors, doors in impossible places, each bearing a warm brass handle like the one in my hallway. Morning came, routine carried me through the day, until evening cast a different light on the door. It seemed to have aged overnight, the brass handle taking on a patina, the wood lighter with an unfamiliar grain. I scrutinized the door, noting every detail of its transformation. Each night brought subtle changes, the wood aging, the handle shifting. I began documenting these shifts, capturing them in sketches and words. The door never changed in my direct gaze. It was always when my attention wavered that it transformed. One night, I resolved to stay awake, watching the door as the hours slipped by. The grandfather clock counted time as the room grew still. At 3:17 a.m., a flicker of lights and a shift in the air heralded another change. The oak turned to mahogany, silver inlays danced across the surface, and a crystal handle beckoned. I hesitated, feeling a strange energy around the door, a hum in the air. And then the realization struck. There was no keyhole, never had been. But every morning I had seen it there. The absence of the keyhole haunted me, a missing piece in a puzzle I couldn't solve. I searched my journal for clues, finding no mention of the keyhole. Uncertainty gnawed at me, a question unanswered. Each night, the door hinted at other realities beyond its frame, tempting me to explore. But a voice within warned of unseen dangers lurking in the shadows of perception. The door continued to change, each night a new enigma to unravel. I grew accustomed to its silent transformations, a strange comfort in the unknown. Perhaps the door was a mirror, reflecting my own shifting perceptions, or perhaps it held secrets far deeper than I could fathom. As the clock strikes midnight and rain taps against the windows, I find myself drawn to the door, eager to uncover its mysteries. In the quiet of the night, I await the next transformation, wondering what truths lie beyond its ever-changing facade. Story 25. The soft rustle of paper slipping through my fingers filled the attic with a gentle melody of curiosity. Sunlight, tinged with the warmth of the setting sun, filtered through a small, time-worn window, painting the air with golden hues that swayed in the stillness. Amongst the stack of old family documents, my gaze landed on a yellowed envelope, sealed with the remnants of faded red wax. My name, elegantly inscribed on the rough surface, felt unfamiliar yet strangely intimate. With a soft creak, I settled into an aged wooden chair, enveloped in the scent of ancient books and weathered wood, as a light breeze teased the leaves of a grand tree outside the window. The weight of the envelope in my hands hinted at secrets beyond its fragile exterior. Slowly, almost reverently, I began to break the aged seal, the echo of cracking wax resonating in the hushed room. Inside, delicate pages, as thin as veils, awaited my discovery, adorned with the same elegant script that had adorned the envelope. The date at the top whispered of a time 50 years past, long before my own existence took root. The opening lines, addressed to my dear future grandchild, beckoned me into a tale woven through time. As I immersed myself in the words, the light in the room dimmed imperceptibly, yet I made no move to seek the companionship of a lamp. The script on the pages seemed to radiate a soft, ethereal glow, captivating my senses. Through the letter, penned by a grandmother unknown to me, I learned of a peculiar gift that flowed through our family's veins, surfacing only under specific celestial alignments and atmospheric whispers. Nights of the full moon and northern winds held the key for some in our lineage to glimpse faint echoes of the past and whispers of the future, like shadows dancing on water. In her elegant prose, my grandmother painted a portrait of her foresight into my very existence, envisioning me in the attic, tracing the lines of her letter. A shiver, not of cold but of connection, traced its way down my spine as I delved deeper into her musings. With each word, the narrative grew more intimate, more personal, revealing her attempts to shield our kin through the veiled mists of time. Yet with each vision granted, a toll was exacted on her essence, a price she willingly paid for the sake of those she cherished. Within the attic's embrace, time seemed suspended, shadows playing out memories against the walls like silent specters. The letter unfurled prophecies of my life, some already lived, and others awaiting their moment to bloom. As I neared the conclusion, the handwriting subtly shifted, betraying a growing weariness, as if each stroke of the pen demanded a piece of her very being. The final page, a tapestry of fading ink, outlined a pivotal choice looming on my horizon, a juncture where the family gift would beckon to me as well. Pausing, I lifted my gaze to the window, where the moon now reigned in the night sky, casting its silver light through gathering clouds. A gust of wind, pregnant with the scent of rain, whispered through the glass panes, urging me back to the letter's closing words. "When you hear the call," my grandmother's voice echoed from the page, "you will be ready. Embrace the gift as a beacon, not a burden. Just as I have for you, craft a letter destined never to be sent, yet fated to find its way when the stars align." Tenderly folding the fragile pages back into their sanctuary of the envelope, the wind outside grew insistent, coaxing the floorboards to murmur beneath my weight. Standing, I drifted towards the window, my reflection melding with the moon's glow in a dance of light and shadow. A fleeting image, the specter of an elderly woman with a gentle smile, flickered across the glass before vanishing into the night. On the desk, where emptiness had reigned moments before, now lay a blank canvas of paper and a pen, awaiting my touch. With a silent nod to the unseen forces guiding me, I settled once more, the moon bathing the room in its celestial embrace. Grasping the pen, I hesitated for a fleeting heartbeat before the ink began to flow, inscribing the words, "To my dear future grandchild." Story 26. The autumn mist draped the park in a gentle haze as leaves twirled leisurely in the humid twilight. Strolling along the pebbled path, I relished the aroma of damp soil and the hushed rustle of my steps. Soft orbs of light from the street lamps cast ethereal glows in the fog, barely illuminating my way forward. And there it appeared, a dark coat neatly folded on a weathered wooden bench. The park lay deserted at this late hour, and the garment seemed meticulously arranged, as if placed with deliberate intent. Approaching cautiously, I watched as the woolen fabric absorbed the mist's droplets. It was a refined coat, crafted with care, adorned with faintly shimmering mother-of-pearl buttons. Still warm to the touch, as if recently shed by its owner, the coat sent a shiver down my spine, not of fear, but of intrigue. Searching the pockets for clues to the wearer's identity, I found only a lone bus ticket from 1985. Time seemed to linger as I examined this relic from a bygone era. The ticket, yellowed yet remarkably intact, hinted at a story untold, a journey frozen in time. Seating myself beside the coat, I let my mind wander amidst the thickening fog. A delicate scent of lavender and pipe tobacco emanated from the coat, stirring memories of yesteryears, of faded photographs and forgotten tales. Upon closer inspection, a faded detail caught my eye. The initials JM, embroidered in gold thread, a whisper of a name lost to history. The park's silence was broken by a distant melody, an aged tune, perhaps from a distant era, drifting like a phantom through the mist. Rising from the bench to trace the source, the music seemed to swirl from all directions, teasingly elusive. Returning to the coat, I noticed a subtle shift in its position. a button catching the light in a different hue. Yet I stood alone in the park, enveloped in a surreal stillness. Time crept by, the fog enfolding everything in its embrace. Shadows waltzed beneath the flickering streetlights, while the haunting melody faded into the night. Contemplating the enigma of JM and the abandoned coat, I felt a fleeting touch upon my shoulder, a breath of wind caressing my skin. Startled, I turned, but the fog offered no answers, only its silent dance. The coat appeared older now, as if time had hastened its decay, a poignant reminder of fleeting moments. Respecting the mystery, I left the coat undisturbed and began my departure. As I walked away, the music briefly swelled, a waltz unknown yet familiar, echoing in the mist. The following morning, drawn by curiosity, I returned to the park, seeking the coat's presence. The bench stood empty, save for a dew-kissed imprint where it once lay. Beside it, a fresh bus ticket, dated for the present day, as if marking a journey's continuation. Even now, on misty evenings, I catch whispers of that distant melody and the lingering scent of lavender and tobacco. At times, amidst the play of light and shadow, I glimpse the silhouette of a gentleman vanishing into the park's depths, only to dissolve into the rustling leaves of the evening breeze. Story 27. The night lay hushed, a tranquil canvas painted with the soft strokes of solitude. Nestled in my cherished armchair, a woolen blanket draped over my knees, and a forgotten cup of chamomile tea resting on the side table, I glanced up from the book cradled in my hands. A distant melody, delicate and ethereal, wove through the stillness, like whispers carried on the wind. The notes, akin to fragile snowflakes, drifted in the air, their presence subtle yet undeniable. It was a piano, I discerned, playing a tune that eluded my memory but tugged at the fringes of recognition, like a whisper from a long-forgotten dream. The house enveloped in shadows, basking in the warm halos by a solitary lamp beside my chair, projected dancing silhouettes on the walls, a silent ballet choreographed by the enigmatic music. Rising slowly, the blanket slipping noiselessly to the floor, I treaded across the wooden expanse, each step a faint echo in the nocturnal symphony. Drawing closer to the living room window, I beheld a world cloaked in tranquility, the moon's silvery glow painting the garden with a mystical sheen, the trees swaying in a nocturnal waltz. The neighboring houses slumbered in darkness, devoid of life, yet the melody persisted, a phantom presence that seemed to emanate from every corner and nowhere all at once. Venturing through the labyrinthine corridors of my abode, I pursued the elusive source of the music, a siren's call that shape-shifted with each room I entered. In the kitchen, it whispered from the living room. In the living room, it beckoned from the stairwell. On the stairs, it cascaded from the upper floor. A mesmerizing game of echoes guided me through the familiar spaces, a silent waltz through the veiled mysteries of my home. Ascending to my bedroom, I noticed the door slightly ajar, a deviation from my morning routine. Moonbeams filtered through gossamer curtains, casting intricate patterns on the floor, while the melody swelled, clearer and more defined, drawing me closer to its heart. Standing at the threshold, I surveyed the room, my gaze settling on an old music box perched on the bedside table, a relic from my grandmother gathering dust. Never had I dared to open it, convinced of its disrepair. Yet in the hush of the night, its delicate ballerina pirouetted, casting dancing shadows on the walls, the melody it spun identical to the elusive tune that had summoned me. The music, amplified in the chamber of my home, pulsed like a heartbeat, beckoning me closer. Approaching with cautious reverence, I felt the music box's surface, its warmth a gentle caress against my fingertips. The miniature ballerina, once a faceless figure, now bore the features of my grandmother, her familiar smile etched in porcelain. Our eyes met in a fleeting connection, and the melody shifted, morphing into a lullaby she had sung to me in childhood. Enveloped in a cocoon of peace and nostalgia, I stood transfixed, the music a balm for the soul. As the notes ebbed like a receding tide, the music box closed with a soft click, heralding the return of silence, pregnant with newfound significance. Descending to my armchair, I retrieved the fallen blanket, cocooning myself once more. The book lay open, its pages a silent testament to my interrupted reverie, yet my thoughts lingered on the enigmatic music box and the spectral presence of my grandmother. How many melodies lay imprisoned in its silent mechanism, waiting for the stars to align? Since that fateful night, on rare occasions when the house echoes with a profound stillness and the moon bathes the garden in its gentle light, a familiar melody drifts through the rooms. No longer do I seek its origin. Instead, I close my eyes and surrender to its embrace, knowing that some mysteries are best left unsolved, their essence understood in the quiet recesses of the heart. Story 28. In the hushed glow of moonlight seeping through gossamer curtains, shadows swayed gracefully across the weathered wooden floor. Nestled in my cherished armchair, I surrendered to the tranquil embrace of the night when my eyes alighted upon the ancient mahogany box perched upon the mantelpiece. Since inheriting this abode from my grandmother, the box had been a steadfast presence, yet its contents remained a mystery, untouched by curious hands. The polished exterior glimmered softly in the moon's caress, its intricate carvings appearing to shift subtly in the darkness. Never had I witnessed the box open, not even in my grandmother's time. It stood as a silent sentinel, an enigmatic relic that lingered at the edge of my consciousness, akin to a painting we gaze upon daily without truly seeing. However, on this particular night, a shift occurred. Perhaps it was the ethereal dance of light upon the inlaid motifs, or maybe it was the profound stillness that enveloped the room like a velvet cloak. With measured steps, I rose from my seat, the woolen fabric of my sweater whispering against the armchair in the sacred quietness of the space. Each footfall upon the creaking floorboards drew me closer to the enigmatic box, an unseen mist seeming to swirl faintly around its form. As my fingertips grazed the warm mahogany surface, a peculiar sensation thrummed through me, as though the box pulsed with a hidden vitality. The elaborate patterns etched upon its facade depicted entwined foliage so delicately wrought that they appeared almost animate. For the first time, I discerned a minute detail previously overlooked. Nestled amidst the intricate carvings on the lid was a minuscule eye, concealed within the ornate design. Intently studying the box, a faint ancient aroma wafted through the air, reminiscent of sandalwood with an elusive, mystifying undertone that defied identification. Surrendering to the sense allure, memories long dormant stirred within me. Vague recollections of a woman with a gentle smile, her whispered words lost to the mists of time as she placed a mysterious object within the box. The rustle of wind against the window panes jolted me back to the present, my hands trembling imperceptibly as they traced the box's edges. Though lacking a visible lock, I knew instinctively that its secrets had remained safeguarded, untouched through the passage of years. Or had they? Childhood memories of this house now seemed muddled, as if the chapters of a book had been shuffled in disarray. Seating myself upon the sofa, the box cradled in my hands, I was struck by its unexpected lightness, almost as if it were devoid of contents. Yet, a subtle movement within hinted at an intangible presence, akin to a fleeting shadow rather than a tangible object. The warmth emanating from the box intensified, and for a fleeting moment, I felt as though the tiny carved eye regarded me knowingly. A shiver, not born of fear, but of eerie recognition, coursed down my spine, akin to the sensation of encountering a familiar figure within a dream. In that unguarded moment, my grandmother's cryptic words echoed in my mind. Though she had never spoken of the box directly, a peculiar utterance lingered. Some questions find answers only when we cease to seek them. Initially incomprehensible, those words now bore a weighty significance as I sat in the nocturnal stillness, the mysterious box a conduit to a revelation unfolding before me. As shadows elongated and waltzed upon the walls, mirroring the box's elaborate motifs, the enigmatic scent pervaded the air, weaving a hypnotic spell. Contemplating the countless generations that had passed through this house, each beholding the box without unearthing its secrets, a singular question surfaced. Did the contents truly warrant discovery? Reverently, I returned the box to its rightful place upon the mantelpiece, the tiny carved eye appearing to smile in silent approval. Retreating to my armchair, a peculiar tranquility enveloped me, unlike any I had previously known. Some enigmas, once unraveled, beckoned not to be solved but to be safeguarded. The moon's luminescence continued to bathe the room in its ethereal glow, the profound silence of the night now imbued with deeper significance. Drifting on the cusp of slumber, the lingering fragrance of the box lulling me towards rest, I fancied I heard a faint murmur from the mantelpiece, a sigh of acquiescence, or perchance the playful breeze toying with the curtains. The box remained, a silent sentinel of its mysteries, a fragment of an enigma that perhaps required no unveiling. And in that realization, a profound serenity settled upon me, a tranquil embrace that cradled me into the realm of dreams. Story 29. The rain whispered a gentle lullaby on the windows of the cozy establishment, harmonizing with the soft clinks of cups and the murmurs of the few lingering patrons. Nestled at the bar, I observed the play of dim lights pirouetting on the polished, dark wood surface. Jack, the enigmatic bartender, polished glasses with a slow, rhythmic trance, drawing me into his methodical movements. That night, a new intensity simmered in his gaze, a depth I hadn't noticed in my countless visits before. His hands, usually precise, betrayed a subtle tremor as he served my customary lavender tea. The fragrance of lavender waltzed gracefully in the air, mingling with the scent of coffee and the aged wood's earthy aroma. Jack's eyes flickered towards a secluded table in the shadowy corner, where a lone figure sat motionless, blending seamlessly with the surroundings. With deliberate steps, Jack approached to replenish my cup, his voice tinged with a hidden tension when he inquired about my desires. At that moment, a disquieting detail caught my eye. A faint reddish stain marred the cuff of his pristine white shirt, barely visible in the dim ambience. Time ebbed away languidly as the rain painted a hypnotic cadence outside. Patrons bid their farewells, leaving behind vacant chairs and abandoned cups. Solemnly seated in the corner, the enigmatic figure lingered, a silent sentinel awaiting something or someone. As Jack meticulously busied himself behind the counter, a sense of unease crept into his movements, contrasting with the precision of his actions. The pendulum clock's relentless ticking underscored the passage of time. Amidst this quiet theater, my gaze fell upon a weathered notebook concealed beneath the rows of bottles. The yellowed pages, filled with minuscule, meticulous script, chronicled names, dates, and places in orderly succession. Yet it was the final entries that drew me in. Cryptic notations, nonsensical numbers, and meticulously drawn symbols that whispered of hidden truths. A hushed rustle diverted my attention. The mysterious figure stirred from their secluded sanctuary, veiling themselves in the shroud of the rainy night as they made their exit. A fleeting exchange of glances between Jack and the enigmatic visitor crackled with unspoken tension. With a barely perceptible nod, Jack acknowledged their departure, and the stranger dissolved into the night's embrace. Jack resumed his tasks, but a subtle shift had taken hold. His hands, once steady, now trembled as he stowed away the glasses, his gaze adrift in a sea of distant memories, perhaps yearning to unearth or bury something profound. As I readied myself to depart, Jack halted me with a gentle gesture. In a soft, almost conspiratorial tone, he spoke of the burdens borne by bartenders, the weight of silent confidences that sometimes grew too heavy to carry alone. Pausing thoughtfully, he hinted at untold stories veiled in the sanctity of those walls. I turned to him, the flickering lamplight casting ephemeral shadows on his weary countenance. The notebook, A silent sentinel amidst the bottles, harbored untold secrets within its weathered pages. With a feeble smile that failed to reach his eyes, Jack implored me to return the following day, teasing the possibility of revelations or enigmatic silence. Stepping into the velvety night, the rain's gentle caress persisted. Peering through the window, I witnessed Jack's meticulous rituals resume, each action a veil for deeper mysteries. The dimming lights whispered of concealed narratives lurking beneath the surface, mysteries that perhaps would forever elude my grasp. As I ventured into the enshrouding night, I pondered the countless untold tales hidden behind bar counters, the silent sentinels like Jack guarding secrets too weighty for the light of day. The answer to these enigmas dissolved into the soothing symphony of rain, a constant companion in the starless expanse of the night. Story 30. In the hush of the night, I stirred to the gentle cadence of a pendulum ticking in the shadows. Its rhythmic pulse resonated through the stillness, a mechanical echo of time passing by in this enigmatic realm. Slowly my eyes fluttered open, revealing a room veiled in the soft shimmer of twilight. Everything around me was foreign and unknown. I found myself reclined on a weathered burgundy velvet sofa, its plushness worn with age. The air carried a peculiar fragrance, a blend of ancient wood and withered blooms, tinged with an elusive essence that eluded my recognition. Faint light filtered through ornate brocade drapes, casting ethereal patterns upon the faded Victorian wallpaper. As my vision adjusted to the dimness, I began to absorb the intricate details of the room. Dark antique furniture stood sentinel-like in the corners, while a colossal bookshelf dominated one wall, laden with leather-bound tomes untouched for generations. On a petite table beside the sofa, a delicate porcelain teacup held steaming liquid that resembled tea. Rising languidly, I felt the protest of my muscles, as though I had slumbered for an eternity. Each footfall on the Persian rug produced a muffled whisper as I approached the window. Drawing back the heavy curtains, I gazed out at a misty garden where vague shapes of trees and bushes swayed in the evening zephyr. Peering at my reflection in the glass, I was unsettled to find myself garbed in attire not my own. A white linen shirt, a brocade vest, and velvet trousers, all impeccably tailored in a bygone fashion. My fingers trembled as they explored the fabric's texture, sensing its quality beneath my touch. A flicker of movement at the periphery of my vision drew my focus. I turned towards the room's interior, but all remained still and silent, save for the relentless ticking of the pendulum, measuring the passage of time that seemed distorted in this place. Determined to delve further, I ventured beyond the chamber. The door yielded with a slight creak, unveiling a dim, elongated corridor. Portraits of unfamiliar faces adorned the walls, their eyes seemingly tracking my cautious advance. The aged wooden floor groaned beneath my tread, every sound magnified by the pervasive quietude. Ascending a staircase, I noticed the gradual descent in temperature. The banister felt chilling to the touch, yet oddly familiar. At the top, a succession of closed doors lined the hallway, each bearing brass nameplates inscribed with cryptic text indiscernible in the gloom. Suddenly, a melody wafted through the air, delicate piano notes so faint they might have been a figment of my imagination, drifting like a soothing breeze. The music seemed to emanate from the final room at the corridor's end, but as I drew near, the ethereal notes waned to a mere whisper. Gently nudging the last door ajar, I beheld an empty chamber save for a grand piano draped in white linen. No one occupied the stool, yet the air hummed with the lingering resonance of that mysterious tune. Approaching the piano, I reverently lifted the cover, unveiling a swirl of dust dancing in the dying light filtering through the window, creating an almost surreal ambience. Resting on the ivory keys lay an aged, yellowed photograph. Gingerly retrieving it, I scrutinized the image in the waning daylight. The picture depicted the very room I stood in, but from a different era. Seated at the piano was a figure that jolted me, a likeness of myself, clad in the same antiquated attire I now wore, though the photograph appeared to be dated a century past. Descending back to the lower level, an eerie tranquility cloaked me, despite the surreal circumstances. The pendulum persisted in its hypnotic beat, seemingly synchronized with the rhythm of my own heart. Settling back on the sofa, I noticed the tea in the cup still emitted warmth. Peering into the amber liquid, a realization dawned upon me. Perhaps I had never truly roused from slumber, or perchance I had awakened into a dream woven by another soul long before mine. The pendulum's relentless ticking marked the seconds of a time that may have never existed, within a dwelling that appeared to hold more familiarity with me than I with myself. Sipping the tea, relishing its comforting flavor, I observed as the fog enveloped the garden outside, blurring the boundaries between reality and reverie. And in that moment, a certainty settled within me that I belonged here, in this enigmatic abode that seemed to have anticipated my arrival all along. Story 31, I awaken as I always do, enveloped in a weighty embrace that drapes over me like a leaden shroud. The room is awash in a gentle glow, a pearlescent luminescence that emanates from no discernible origin. The walls possess an elusive hue, shifting shades each time I avert my gaze. The ceiling soars above, stretching far beyond the confines of a typical bedroom, vanishing into a velvety darkness, reminiscent of a starless night sky. The bed beneath me cradles me in its plushness, almost excessively so. Silken sheets whisper against my skin with a mesmerizing rustle as I shift. A fragrance lingers in the air, sweet and redolent of familiarity, evoking elusive memories that slip through my grasp. It could be the scent of lavender, or perhaps vanilla, yet each attempt to pinpoint it results in a metamorphosis into something altogether different. Time meanders through this space, its passage marked by shadows that elongate and recede in a languid, hypnotic dance upon the walls. The silence, though never absolute, is punctuated by a background murmur akin to the soft exhalation of deep slumber, or the echo of my own pulse resonating through the void. Rising from the bed, my bare feet sink into a carpet so luxuriant that it feels akin to treading upon clouds. Sparse furnishings populate the room. A weathered dark wood desk, a plush armchair upholstered in burgundy velvet, and an oval mirror framed in gold. The mirror remains perpetually misted, as if freshly steamed, though no bathroom lies within view. I gravitate towards the desk, upon which an array of disparate objects rests. A time-worn leather-bound diary, a fountain pen brimming with midnight blue ink, and a cup of tea exuding a delicate wisp of steam. The tea still retains its warmth, though I cannot recall its preparation. The diary's pages remain blank, yet beneath my touch I sense the phantom impression of words upon the paper, as though inscribed in invisible ink. The armchair beckons me to its embrace, and I acquiesce. The velvet yields to my touch with a residual warmth, as if recently vacated. From this vantage point, a peculiar anomaly captures my attention on the wall before me. A subtle pulsation, akin to the rhythmic expansion and contraction of slumbering breath. Intrigued, I rise to investigate further, only to find the wall resolute and inert upon closer scrutiny. Instinctively, I seek a door, a familiar ritual. I trace the walls with my hands, navigating every minute irregularity, every minute crevice. Occasionally, I perceive the semblance of a handle, only for it to dissolve like morning mist upon my grasp. The misted mirror draws my focus. Through its obscured veneer, my reflection flickers, bearing an uncanny peculiarity. Movements appear subtly delayed, as if my mirrored self hesitates before mirroring my actions. At times, amidst fleeting clarity within the haze, I glimpse an alternate figure observing me through the looking glass. Time ebbs and flows capriciously. Illumination waxes and wanes in a cadence divorced from the conventions of day and night. I may find myself seated in the armchair, perusing the diary for what feels like mere moments, only to discern the room's shadows have shifted as if hours had transpired. Reclining upon the bed once more, I gaze upwards at the seemingly boundless expanse of the ceiling. The sheets envelop me, enfolding me in a tender embrace that seems to possess a life of its own. The fragrance saturating the air intensifies, evoking echoes of my grandmother's perfume, the aroma of freshly baked cookies, or perchance the scent of rain upon a summer meadow. With eyes closed, I acknowledge that upon reopening them, the cycle will commence anew. The room detains me within this liminal realm betwixt dream and wakefulness, where time coils upon itself, akin to a Mobius strip. Uncertain whether I dream the room or if the room dreams me, I surrender once more to slumber, a fragment of my consciousness pondering the elusive prospect of an exit, or the possibility that perhaps I never truly desired discovery. The room intertwines with my essence, or perhaps I have forever been enmeshed within the room, ensnared in an eternal cycle of awakening and reverie, where the demarcations separating reality from imagination meld harmoniously like hues upon a freshly painted canvas. Story 32. In the hush of the night, the echo of my footsteps danced through the ancient wooden corridor. Each step I took made the floorboards sigh under the weight of my presence, a gentle harmony blending with the patter of raindrops on the window panes. The air held a rich sweetness, a blend of aged wood and weathered pages, wrapping me in a comforting embrace. I stood before the door at the far end of the hallway, a door I had kept sealed shut for months. The lock shimmered faintly in the soft glow of the wall lamps, beckoning me with a silent plea. I vividly recalled locking it the last time, the ritual of turning the key thrice and testing the handle, a familiar routine that had always lent me a sense of security. But on this particular evening, there was a subtle shift in the air. A chill seemed to linger around the door, and a delicate film of dust had settled on the brass handle, forming intricate patterns that captivated my gaze. Drawing nearer, I noticed the dust arranged in tiny concentric circles, as if an unseen hand had etched cryptic designs. The wooden door exuded a gentle warmth, a sensation only discernible by pressing my palm against its surface. It puzzled me, for the room had been closed off, devoid of any heating source. Leaning in, I strained to catch any sound, and in the profound stillness I fancied I heard a faint, rhythmic breath, akin to someone lost in slumber. Retrieving the key from my robe pocket, I found it curiously warm to the touch. With measured care, I inserted it into the lock, aiming to turn it without a sound. The key slipped in smoothly, yet when I attempted the twist, a resistance met me, as if the lock had been altered from within. My heart quickened, not out of fear, but a stirring mix of curiosity and anticipation, akin to the precipice of a profound revelation. I reversed the key's direction, and this time it yielded effortlessly, emitting a soft click. Upon pushing the door ajar, a waft of warm, fragrant air enveloped me, redolent of freshly brewed vanilla tea. Moonlight filtered through gossamer curtains, casting a silver luminescence upon the room beyond. Everything appeared familiar yet altered. Books stood arranged in a new configuration, forming enigmatic patterns previously unseen. The antique armchair had shifted slightly, angled towards the window, while an empty porcelain cup sat on the adjacent table, a detail unremembered. Crossing the room, I trailed my fingertips along the mahogany desk, noting the uneven distribution of dust, as if phantom words had been traced and then erased. Beside the inkwell lay a weathered sheet of paper, bearing a solitary sentence inscribed in a script akin to my own, though I had no recollection of penning it. The words read, "Time flows differently here." As I absorbed the cryptic message, I realized my breath had synchronized with the gentle sway of the curtains, though no breeze stirred the air. The room's silence pulsed with a latent vitality, a myriad of whispers too faint to decipher. Sinking into the plush velvet of the armchair, I glimpsed the room's reflection in the window, a fleeting impression of a figure moving in the shadows behind me. Yet as I turned, only the moon's glimmer danced amidst the darkness. Briefly closing my eyes, I allowed the tranquility to embrace me. Upon opening them, a subtle shift had occurred, as if every object had subtly rearranged itself. The cup now emitted warmth beneath my touch, tendrils of steam rising delicately. Rising from the armchair, I felt the weight of the enigma that cloaked the room. Noiselessly, I treaded towards the door, each step a silent echo. Pausing at the threshold, I cast a final glance back. The room seemed to breathe softly, as if a slumbering entity. Gently shutting the door, I turned the key in the lock, the soft click resonating like a lullaby in the quiet expanse of the hallway. Since that night, a hint of vanilla tea lingers in the air each time I pass by, accompanied by the whisper of phantom pages turning in unseen hands. I have yet to reopen that door, allowing the room to preserve its clandestine existence, safeguarding mysteries that perhaps are best consigned to the tranquil embrace of silence. Story 33. The rain cascaded down in a hypnotic symphony, tapping on the rooftop like a gentle lullaby that enveloped the night in a shroud of tranquility. Nestled in my cherished armchair, cradling a cup of chamomile tea turned tepid between my palms, I found myself entranced by the soothing cadence of the raindrops. Yet amidst this serene ambiance, a subtle anomaly tugged at the edges of my awareness, a faint, almost imperceptible sound blending with the rainfall, delicate footfalls echoing from the depths of the basement. Initially dismissing it as the routine settling of the old house, I acknowledged that aged abodes possess their own language, a repertoire of creaks and whispers that resonate through the corridors, particularly on damp, rainy nights. But tonight, there was an uncanny precision to these sounds, a rhythm that mirrored human steps far too closely. With deliberate movements, I rose from my seat, placing the cup gently on the nearby table. The wooden floor beneath my feet exuded a residual warmth, a remnant of the day's fading heat. Approaching the basement door, a chill crept into the air, as though an icy breath emanated from the descending stairs. The brass handle yielded to my touch, its coldness seeping into my skin, and as I turned it, a solitary click reverberated through the silent house. The staircase ahead plunged into darkness, save for a faint azure glow filtering through a small skylight. Descending cautiously, each step amplified the fusion of my own footfalls with the enigmatic ones that beckoned me downward. The unmistakable scent of the basement, aged wood, damp soil, and an indefinable essence, intensified with each stride. In the subterranean chamber, shadows pirouetted on the walls, their dance choreographed by the intermittent flashes of lightning through the skylight. Amidst the shelves laden with antiquities, casting contorted silhouettes, a peculiar revelation emerged. Faint, moisture-laden footprints adorned the dusty floor. These imprints bore no resemblance to ordinary footfalls. Rather, they appeared as ethereal remnants, as though a figure with dew-kissed soles had traced circles at the room's center. Drawn to these enigmatic marks, I scrutinized their origin. The skylight remained intact, ruling out any entry point for water. As my gaze lingered on the mysterious tracks, a subtle motion in the shadowed recesses seized my attention. In the darkest alcove, untouched by light's embrace, a presence seemed to stir with languid grace. My heartbeat quickened, not from dread, but from a blend of curiosity and an eerie sense of recognition. Advancing towards the obscure corner, the air grew palpably colder, and the echoes of footsteps now surrounding me intensified. No longer emanating from a singular source, they seemed to permeate the entire space, as if a phantom treaded in every corner simultaneously. It was then, in a moment of revelation, that the purpose of the spiraling footprints etched on the floor became apparent. They formed a meticulous design, a spiral converging towards the room's heart. Tracing this enigmatic path, I discerned that the freshest imprints, nearest the center, remained damp, as though freshly imprinted. Transfixed, I stood motionless as these ephemeral traces gradually dissipated, evaporating into the frigid basement air. The echoes of footsteps waned, merging seamlessly with the persistent rain outside. Ascending the stairs once more, an ineffable tranquility embraced me, as if I had borne witness to an ancient, enigmatic rite that transcended time within the bowels of the house. That night, as I readied myself for slumber, the rain's melodic patter assumed a newfound resonance. No longer a random symphony of droplets, it seemed to echo the rhythmic cadence of the phantom footsteps from the basement. Drifting into sleep, the haunting melody lingered in my ears, a spectral question lingering in my mind. Would the footsteps return on the morrow? And would I possess the courage to unveil the elusive enigma behind the ethereal footprints etched in the dust? Story 34. The November breeze gently stirred the brittle leaves scattered along the driveway, while I gazed at the outline of the forsaken mansion silhouetted against the dreary sky. Dubbed the never-inhabited house, though history whispered otherwise, a ghostly resident had once roamed its halls, long forgotten by the world. Approaching the weathered gate, my hand brushed against the icy wrought iron bars. The air carried a hint of moss and damp stone, enveloping me in its earthy embrace. The garden sprawled in disarray, nature reclaiming its territory with brambles and nettles grasping at the crumbling walls. Yet, amidst the neglect, a somber elegance lingered about the mansion. As a real estate agent tasked with assessing the property, I ventured into the unkempt garden. A peculiar discovery awaited me. Faint traces of recently trodden paths amidst the overgrowth, hinting at a mysterious visitor. The neighbors swore no soul dared to trespass on the estate. Pushing open the front door with a muted groan, I stepped into the bluish gloom that filled the interior, seeping through the closed shutters. Dust hung thick in the air, mingling with the ancient scent of timber. Each footfall echoed through the main salon, where veiled furniture loomed beneath yellowed sheets, casting ghostly shapes in the dim light. The massive mirrors on the walls reflected an eerie dance of shifting shadows, playing tricks on the eye. Ascending the creaking stairs, my hand traced the polished wood rail worn smooth by years of use. Along the upper corridor, a row of closed doors led me to empty rooms, frozen in time save for the veiled furniture. It was in the final chamber that a subtle disturbance caught my eye. A bedroom, frozen in disuse, bore signs of recent activity amidst the layers of dust. A silver hairbrush lay beside a tangle of dark strands, untouched by time. The immaculate bed hinted at recent occupation. A faint depression in the lace spread where a phantom sitter had left their mark. Just as I prepared to depart, a flicker in the mirror drew my gaze. A fleeting image of a woman seated on the bed sent a shiver down my spine, though the room remained empty upon my swift turn. Yet an unseen presence lingered, a whisper of a bygone era haunting the stillness. Descending the stairs with haste, the salon seemed to watch as I hastened towards the exit.